Hi, everyone. Welcome. Sunday afternoon live stream. Hopefully, we're catching lots of people around the world. And just to put your mind at rest before we go any further, I did not have a bad experience at a tanning booth. I don't do that, but I have an orange filter on so that you can actually see the colors in the tank instead of just blue. If I take it off, it just blues right out because it's during the day. So maybe what I'll do is raise this up a little more. Although, yeah, I know, might be disorienting just to see from my nose up. Anyway, there's the tank. It's doing well. One question for that I'll put out there that I've been wondering. Overnight, the water in this thing is crystal clear. In the morning, the water is crystal clear. Then about midday, maybe around this time, it slowly starts to get hazy. And by 6 or 7 o'clock at night, it's got quite a haze on it. So I'm speculating that some sort of microalgae in the water that's growing because of the lighting. I don't know. I don't know what that is. And I guess because I'm picky, it bothers me. When I do video, I try to do it early in the day so that the haze hasn't yet built up on the tank. But sometimes things happen and you need to capture it right away. And it's a bad time for it. But anyway, if anyone has experienced that, or you know what it might be or how I might do something about it, if you want to drop a note in the chat or send me an email at reefgrrl@gmail.com, you could ask for the link. And yeah, so that's kind of one thing I've been wondering about. So let's say hi to everybody. Right off the bat, we have 15 people. And as I said, this is timed to catch as many time zones as I can around the world for those people who would like to join in and can't because it's the middle of the night where they are. This hopefully will give you a chance to sort of pop in, say hi, and show us what you have. So first off was Tony Colo's UK Reef. Looking forward to it. Yeah, me too, Tony. Then Sean Clark was next. Hey, Sean. WVU Reefer is here. And there's Lynn Reef Nerd. Yep, good vibes. Yeah, Dave. Tony says, hello, everyone. There's Scotty Damron. Hello, y'all. Happy Reefing Sunday. And Lee White, good afternoon, all. So I know at least 2 of you are from the UK. And I have had a couple of replies to my video, the reminder video that was also sort of a tank tour that you'd be joining in. So that's awesome. So what can I tell you about this week while we're waiting for someone to come into the stream? Oh yeah, I have my PAR map. I remembered to bring it in here. Of course, I got it buried under. See, I'm prepared. I'm prepared, got some glasses, got another pair of glasses, got another pair of glasses. So come on, that's for new people. Yep. If you don't know what that's about, come on in and we'll show everybody. So here's my PAR map. So elegant. And there were some surprises in here. Oh, look at that. Marc T, Lorena. Yay, Marc Teffer. Marc's from the East Coast. Okay, I'll put the PAR map away. We can talk about that later if there's a lull. But anyway, we did the PAR readings, and since we did the PAR readings, I've adjusted some of them upwards because what I learned from doing the PAR readings is I have space to go with the lights. They're not too bright. So I can slowly increase them and gradually get them to where if I start seeing issues with any of the corals in response to more light, I can get it to where they're comfortable and doing well. So that was important to do that. All right, let's bring in Marc and Lorena. Ooh, Lorena hasn't been here before, so we'll have to do some glasses. Hey, Marc.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. And here's Lorena. Hello, Lorena.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Hi there. Can you hear me?
We can? Nice. Okay.
Okay. Hi.
I can see your tank, Lorena. Can you turn your phone sideways? Can you turn your phone sideways?
I don't know. Can I? Like this?
There we go.
Oh,
yeah. There we go. That's perfect. Thank you. Awesome.
Okay.
Very nice. I love arches.
So, hello.
We're having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay, how about this? Better?
Better. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries to figure it out
No?
because everyone's phone is different. Can you hear us?
Okay, maybe it's just the volume. Yes, I feel I can hear everything. Okay.
Perfect. That's good. We can hear you perfectly now too. That's great.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to be away for a quick sec while I deal with my 4-year-old.
Awesome. I know what that's like, and it's the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday. So, Lorena, we have kind of a tradition here of when we have a new guest who has been on before, that I have a question that I ask just to sort of break the ice and get to know them a little better. And it's not a hard question, and you know, it's not meant to, it's not a test or anything, but it's just kind of a maybe an experience question.
Sure.
So I got to put on the troll glasses because I'm the troll that's guarding the entry to the live stream. All right. If I don't put on glasses, people will comment on that. So here we go. There's the troll glasses. Oh my goodness, look at the reflection. So here's the question. I think you've got enough years experience to have at one point or another had some frustrations with the hobby. So if you think of a frustrating experience you had with your reef tank, what did you learn from that?
Actually, I am going through right now. So I also came to ask a few questions because as you see, my little aquarium, this is a 20-gallon. It's at the moment fishless because I've had an experience with velvet that unfortunately killed my 3 fish. I had a clown pair and a beautiful royal grandma, and they all died with velvet. Now, I'm still kind of dealing with it because I know that it will have to remain fishless for quite a few weeks now, at least until September. So I've been wondering what to do now, simply to understand where the velvet came from, because I'm quite new in the hobby. Like, this has been set up 6 months ago. So the corals are doing okay. They're my first corals. So I'm quite happy with that. But the fish were in here since March, and a few weeks ago I had this velvet problem, and it's been really tough because they were like my pet fish. They had names and everything, and they would come in the morning and greet me in front of the glass, and they knew when it was time for feeding. So I was just trying to understand where the velvet actually came from, because they were here, well, since March. So I thought the only way this problem could have appeared was either by introducing corals, or is it possible it was in here since the beginning, since March? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about fish diseases. I've been super lucky not to have experienced a lot, although I did have ick in a tank, and that took out, it was my 20-gallon nano, and that took out some very expensive fish, small ones. And I think it came in on a snail. I put in 3 snails before we went away for a long weekend, and I came back and the tank had it. So, and it could, I think, come in. Have you dipped, when you get your coral, do you dip them in anything to kill off parasites or?
I do dip. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes, the only problem is it seems that the dip doesn't really actually kill this kind of parasite
yeah,
even in a dip. I mean, it takes something a bit more stronger. So I don't know. It was very strange. I mean, I was quite happy, and then I'm starting to think, well, maybe I have to quarantine girl as well, and it's tough. It's strange. I mean, I've been in the freshwater hobby since 2018, and nothing like this has ever happened to me. So I was always able to, you know, do minor changes and everything went fine. But this was not fun. It was not fun.
well, we
So
can, one of us can sympathize. I
I
guarantee
don't
it.
know if yeah, if anyone has any experience, because I really don't know what to think about it.
Well, the first step I think you're taking is probably the right one, which is to go fishless for whatever period of time. I assume you've done some research, and there's a period of time where the parasite, if it doesn't have a host, it can't survive. But then I have heard other people say, well, like if it goes into the sand, or if it, somehow
Yes.
goes dormant and comes back. But I honestly don't know. I haven't. Well, no, that's not true. I did have one fish that went down with velvet. It was a flame hawkfish, and at the time, it was the only fish in the tank. I didn't know what was wrong with it.
Mm.
It happened probably 2 weeks after I had the fish for 2 weeks. It was fine, and then all of a sudden, that's what it was. It turned white. I forgot about that fish, and I removed it from the tank, but I didn't know what it was.
Mm.
This was before YouTube, so I didn't. I just did whatever research I could, and now I know it probably had velvet, but back then I had no idea, and I just went on my merry way. But one thing I can suggest that I did do after
Yeah,
the ick
it's
is if you wait a certain amount of time,
something similar that happened to me as well.
yeah, but if you wait
Mm.
a certain amount of time, however long it's supposed to be, try putting in a molly. If you can find someone who has mollies from salt water available, or
Hmm.
you can acclimate them to salt water. I've got videos about it on my. I have a whole playlist about doing that, because that, as awful as it sounds, putting a molly in, you'll be able to tell
Yeah, I
whether the milk
remember Hollywood,
is.
right?
Yeah. Molly would, but you'll be able to tell if you still have velvet if you just put in a fish like a molly. They're very hardy, so I don't know what their survivability
Mm.
is if they get velvet, but you'll be able to know before you add other fish that might be harder to replace. I don't know. What do you think, Mark? Have you run into?
So I have
Yes.
had
Yes.
marine ick, and it wiped out my tank at the time. I lost Angel, I lost a powder blue tang, all the typical quick to die from it. And from everything I've researched and learned and talked to people, with ick, you need 90 days minimum. 110 is preferred.
Well,
And I'm pretty sure velvet doesn't have the same Theront life frame that ick does. How long has it been already? You said a few weeks, but like, has it been like 8 weeks
I think I
or?
lost the first fish like on July 14th, something like that. And I know the parasite has a life cycle of about 7 to 10 days. So technically it's okay, but many people, like experts online, write leave it fishless for at least 6 weeks, because the parasites can live for a little bit. They have like a photosynthetic, like it's like an algae. They have a photosynthetic life for a few days, and they live in the water column, and then they attach to the fish the slime coat and everything else, and then the cycle repeats itself. So I think I'm just going to leave it fishless like September, some to be sure.
Yeah, doing a 90-day or a 12-week would be the safest bet. And yeah, that probably it would have come in. I don't think so much on a coral. Like I use the Seachem Reef dip, and I've also used the Revive.
Yeah, velvet is a tough one, and it happens so fast. That's the thing with ick. It isn't often that a whole fish will be completely covered and die. You have a chance to work with it. Yeah. Oh, a few more people in. Hey, True Skill 710. Glad you could come. There's Chip
Yes,
the
that was a
Reaper.
bit my problem, because not having any experience, I thought it was just flukes, because I saw one fish rub itself on the rocks, and I thought, something's a bit strange, but I didn't really recognize the symptoms. So by the time it really got bad, it was already too late. I mean, I had ordered the medicine and I put up, plus this was in a moment where there was like a really bad heat wave in Europe. I'm in Italy, and like there was no way of controlling two tanks. I was having trouble keeping it under 28 degrees Celsius. It's like 83 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. So I thought, if I put a hospital tank up, I don't know if the fish are going to survive because of heat. And I don't know, it was just a bad moment.
Yes, it's awful. Well, I think, is velvet one of the parasites that accelerates its life cycle in a higher temperature? I don't know offhand, because sometimes they
I
recommend.
think it thrives in between 26 or 28. Maybe you're right. So perhaps the high temperatures just helped it like survive better and thrive in the fish. I don't know.
Well, I think you're doing a smart thing by going extra time fishless, because I mean, patience in this hobby, and anytime I've pushed ahead faster than I should have, I've always had a problem, and so now I wait too long.
Well, in fact, I think
a problem with
when
waiting
you do
too
have
long,
a problem, yeah, patience is the most important thing for somebody dealing with this hobby. I think.
Yep.
You can just do more damage. So yeah.
It's true, and I don't know, Mark, if you were going to say, but it's that balance, because you don't want to wait so long that a problem you could have controlled gets out of control, and at the same time you don't want to jump in too fast for something that will resolve itself. And the only way to learn all of that is experience, as you encounter these things, because if anyone ever says they've never had any of these problems ever, they're either didn't recognize what it was, or they've blocked it and don't remember it, like me sometimes, or they're just trying not to admit to failure.
Or maybe they just got very lucky.
Well, it's hard to get lucky enough to not have a problem with anything, right? So there's so many things as you'll find out, but you learn from it and you keep going. And not everything bad that happens will kill off livestock. Just these parasites are, yeah. So I don't know. I can't really say any much more than I think it's the right thing to wait a little longer. And then I'd suggest, if you can get a molly that's salt water, or you can acclimate it yourself fairly easily, that's a good way to test whether the parasite is still present. Mollies don't have a long lifespan, so if you do get a molly and there is no pest, They're peaceful. They don't bother other fish. They eat algae. It's something you can leave in your tank until it lives out its natural lifespan, which is, in my experience, the longest one I've ever had is like 2 years, 2.5. So
I might try that. Thanks. The only thing that I can do is not to buy corals where I've bought them so far, because I think the corals were the one that brought it in my aquarium, and not the fish, because I've never heard of anyone living with velvet in their aquariums for like 4 or 5 months, and then all of a sudden it killed all the fish. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, and
It's up
Phil,
for me.
hey Phil, Reef Keeper's here. He has a good comment. Hi Cindy and everyone. When I had my velvet in the 525 XL, I left the tank fallow for 76 days. Haven't had an issue since. Keep your eye on the nutrients. Without fish, mine dropped drastically. Yeah. Hey Kathy B. Yeah, so I mean that is another.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's from Reef Keeper.
I think we'll keep feeding fish food in the aquarium, because still there are some snails and there's a cleaner shrimp, and I just don't want, you're right, I don't want my nutrients to go down to zero. So every 2 or 3 days I drop some fish food inside, and maybe not clean the filter so diligently, and I hope everything goes well.
I think if you do that, you're going to maintain that balance while you don't get fish. So what tank is this? What's the, is it a 20-gallon you said?
It's a 20-gallon, yes. I had it made because I just wanted a pretty glass box with no fancy black lids. I mean, it is an aquarium in our living room, so I just wanted it, to be pretty. And keeping it in my living room is a good way to keep it clean as well. So if something goes wrong, I see it almost immediately, and if it goes well, I can enjoy it, and it's all fine. The only problem is now it's empty, and if somebody comes by, I have to, explain how these things work. But yeah, it is what it is at the moment.
Yeah,
actually, I had it made just. I'm sorry, I'm having some lag with the video and the audio. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. Go ahead.
Also, it's not very, I mean, it is just a glass box, but it's not a very typical aquarium, I would say, at least not a reef aquarium, because I'm still running it on an external filter without a sump, without a skimmer. So it's not very, let's say, typical for a new reefer, I guess. And my local fish store was not really happy when I said, no, you know what, I'm going to use my gear and just try it out this way. And they tried to persuade me, but I was quite moneyless at the moment. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the freshwater way. And so far, so good.
I ran my 29-gallon cube on a canister the entire time I had it. I didn't even have a tank with a sump for the first 5 years that I had a reef tank. And I swapped the canister filter once for a different kind, but that's the only change I ever made. And it was fine. It was a challenge to maintain decent nutrient levels, like to keep it down enough that I didn't get a lot of algae, because I wasn't very diligent at cleaning it. I didn't realize that it needed cleaning more often, the filter, the pads and everything. Once I learned that, it went a lot better. You can run in Australia. There are lots of people in Australia, for example, you probably have run across them, who run reef tanks, 100-gallon reef tanks on a canister filter. And I ran my 90-gallon holding tank on 2 canister filters. So you can do it.
Yes.
Successfully. We got some other comments here too.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So WVU Reefer, is it possible velvet was always present, then something in the water parameters weakened the fish immune system just enough for the velvet to really let loose? Yeah, I don't know enough about velvet. And ReefKeeper says, if she didn't introduce
That
any
was
fish,
something I was wondering as well.
yeah, yeah. And Phil is wondering, if you didn't introduce any fish, you more than likely are correct. The velvet came in on a coral or invert. It's unlikely for parasites to come in on coral or inverts, but possible, yeah. Well, I always heard that you don't get ick from snails, and I'm living proof that you do. Anyway. Oh, hey, Sammy.
Well, it's possible that one of the fish already had it. I mean, I bought all 3 fish at the same online vendor, and they all came together. So again, if they came together and one of them had velvet, and then 4 months later it for some reason developed, it's possible, but I don't know. I don't know, because I know that in order to, let's say, have an actual disease, there has to be a fish present. But there is a time in the life cycle where the parasite just clinges on whatever is in the water or on the rock or stony coral. I don't know. So I'm hesitant to go back to the same event, because maybe they had a disease and didn't even know it. I don't know. Mystery.
Yeah, it is a mystery, and that's the thing that I find hard, is that there's so many things that happen that we never will know the answer. And all you do is, because the reason I want to know the answer is, if I made a mistake or if I did something that contributed to it, I don't want to make the same mistake. Or if I ordered something from somewhere, like you're thinking about buying corals from other vendors just to if it did come in on a coral, maybe don't go back to that vendor anymore. That's the kind of stuff I want to know, so that I can avoid it in future. And sometimes you
Right, exactly.
just never know. Yep. Oh, and Tony Close UK Reef says, check out Simple Aquariums. That is a YouTube and Instagram. Does she have YouTube? She's in Australia.
Yes, I know Simple Aquariums, and also another YouTuber called Mikey Mike, something like that. And he has a beautiful aquarium, and Simple Aquarium has a beautiful softy tank, a big one.
Yep. Yeah. And let's see, and WVU Reefer says fish can build a temporary immunity to velvet for up to 6 months. And during that 6 months, the fish is a carrier and capable of spreading it. So, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so the Go Fishless.
Okay, so I guess I will just change vendor, and let's hope for the best, because a lot of people just told me, well, if the fish is just healthy and the corals are, I mean the aquarium parameters are correct, they're not going to get sick. And it does not make much sense to me. Because I'm pretty sure that if you put a healthy fish in an aquarium with a disease, it will sooner or later get sick, because that's how disease works. I don't know if either you have a super immune fish, or
I think we lost you a little bit there, the audio.
Sorry, I'm back. My mic gave up for a moment.
Technology, gotta love it.
Anyway, I was saying, either you have a very either you have a very super immune fish to whatever it may encounter, or it's just a fish like any other, and sooner or later it will have some trouble. So I don't know. It did not seem like a logical. I mean, I could be wrong, but it didn't seem very logical to me to make that kind of an assumption.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends, I guess, on what disease it is. And like WVU Reefer said, if fish can develop immunity but still be carriers, I guess it's like humans. You know, some people, you know, back when tuberculosis was a thing, or remember Typhoid Mary? There was a woman who was a carrier of typhoid but did not ever get it. And
Yeah,
so I guess it's possible. And certain fish are known to be
yeah,
more,
yeah.
more prone, but it's the ones with thin slime coats. That's why tangs have issues with getting ick so easily. They don't have much of a slime coat, whereas clownfish, they have a really good slime coat because it's protection against anemones. So, you know, and wrasses can go under the sand, and so they also have a good slime coat. So, you know, it's dependent on the species too, I think, what sort
Yeah.
of immunity they might have.
Mm. Well, in
Interesting.
fact, the two clownfish did live a bit longer, but they still didn't make it. So that was my bad. I should have seen the symptoms earlier. But yeah, I learned that lesson now, I guess.
We lost Mark. Yeah. So this, you had this take custom made. What are the dimensions of it? Here, I'll put you on full screen, and then we'll get Mark back in here.
It's not very big. It's like, I'm sorry, I just know centimeters. So it's 60 centimeters by 40 by 40.
Oh, nice. Nice proportions. The width to the height. It's good. And what kind of rock did you use here?
Actually, I just took, they had like, not completely, it was wet live rock in the aquarium store, so it wasn't bone white.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's actually many different pieces that I just put together. It's just 5 rocks actually. And I was happy because it was already wet and it already had some life in it or on it, depends on how you see it. And I just put in the sand. I give it a 2 months of time before putting in, actual corals and fish, and it went well. The cycling went well. I did have a little bit of algae, a little bit of diatoms, just the typical things. But it went okay. And the strange thing is, one rock is growing red coral and algae, and
Yeah.
the other ones are growing purple one, which is strange but really cool.
It looks pretty. That looks really
Yeah,
nice.
it's very strange. Like, this one is completely purple and growing like a charm, but this one is red. I don't know why, but okay.
That's the fun of it. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I would really like to fill it in more, but it's so freaking expensive. I mean,
It's true.
it probably was not a good time to start a new hobby like this, but okay,
Well,
let's
you work
try
with
it.
what you can. Do you have local reef, like a hobby group where you live, or do you know any other people who keep reef tanks through your LFS? Like, do you?
Unfortunately not. My local LFS I have kind of 2 of them, but they're both a little bit far away. So one of them, I mean, they're both fresh and salt water, but one of them changed, the owner changed right when I was setting it up, and the other one was giving me gear that I really was not asking, and They sold me like a pump that was too big, and they said they tried really hard to persuade me to not use an external filter, and I don't know, it was a little bit funky. So I mean, I will go back there, but the only real contact that I had was in a bigger city, because we moved recently. Well, not recently, but we moved a little while back. And I'm in a small city now, and I don't have all this access. So that's why I started putting it up by using local vendors.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, online vendors. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a bit strange, because I do prefer buying things when I see them, personally, but sometimes it's just not possible. So it was a compromise, and it didn't go perfectly, but it'll
Well, you
get
just,
better.
I was just thinking, if you found someone else in your city or a couple of people, you would have a source where you could trade frags, which is really nice to develop that. I never
Yeah,
had that.
unfortunately not, at least not at the moment. Also, I started this aquarium during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hard time for everybody. Definitely. Oh, hey, Peter M. Glad you can make it.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you very well. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
yes. Is this better?
Okay.
Is this better?
So anyway, I was saying, yeah, and I couldn't actually go out and meet anyone. So it was a very lonesome project, lonesome idea, and it is very much my passion. So, oh, thanks, Lynn. Thanks a lot.
Lynn is a fountain of knowledge, although she would never admit it.
We love fountains here.
Yes. Yes. Nice. And what light are you using on this tank?
Oh, this is a very simple AA prime.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't have much money to, invest in a lot of gear, but I thought investing in a decent light would be a good idea. So I just said, okay, I'm not buying a sump and drilling the tank and everything, but I can get a good light. So I love it because it's really simple. It's only one, and it's a job.
I think AI lights are underrated. I think more people should use them instead of spending twice as much on other brands. Honestly, they're good value for money, the AI lights. And I have one on Mollywood that's now the observation tank. And I can't believe the quality of light that gives and how wonderful it looks on video. It's just, it's a really good light. The only frustration I have sometimes is connecting with the Wi-Fi. But other than that, I think they're great
No,
lights.
I never have had those problems, but I'm glad I got it, because if I should ever get a bigger tank, I can just buy one more and pop it on.
Exactly. Oh, we lost Lorena. Well, until she comes back, we will bring in Marc. Hey, Marc.
Hey, I switched setups, so the phone just wasn't cutting it today.
Thanks for waiting. Oh, a couple more people. I think I said hi to Peter M from Croatia. There's Andrew Hudson. Hello. B Speak. Hey, B. And Sammy 31D. I don't know if Lorena will see this. For a first-time reefer, she's doing wonderful. Even the tank choice itself is a nice piece of glass. I was thinking that, and I was going to say, given the tank has not been set up for very long, it looks really good. And I wonder whether that's partly because she did start with a little bit of live rock that gave it a boost, or a little bit. She said, I don't think she added any dry rock. I think it was all already underwater when she brought it back and put it in the tank. So, oh, hey, Algae Warrior, Garrett.
Yeah, it definitely makes a massive, massive difference when you start with live rock or, some sort of bacteria that doesn't just come straight from a bottle.
That's
Or,
right.
like
Yep.
when I originally set up mine, um, what I had done is actually gone to the local fish store, and when they were doing a water change on their system, I took 11-gallon jug, filled it to the brim with their dirty, disgusting water, and used that when I first started.
Good
And I
idea.
mean, my, like, everyone kind of says, it's a good way to end up with pests or things that you don't want, but I ran into less issues doing that than I did from frag swaps in my local area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Got some good comments here. Lorena, Tony Close, if you haven't already seen it. He said, sorry you got velvet, stick with salt water. It's very rewarding hobby and do it your way. Yes, because trust your instincts. And we always remember a store
Thank
is in
you.
business to sell you things.
Thanks. Sorry,
Yeah. There. Casey Wagner.
right.
Hey,
I'm
Casey.
back. I fell from the live stream. Sorry.
That's okay. Casey Wagner says, my tank is a disaster right now. When the well went offline, I had to take what bottled water I could get since I couldn't make RODI. Oh, man. That's hard to get through. Yeah, thanks for coming back in, Lorena. And we were saying
Oh,
your
that
tank
sounds
looks
bad.
great for how young it is, because often those first 6 months or so are when you have a lot of problems with cyano or really bad issues with algae and everything like that. But I wonder whether your freshwater experience helped you understand the stages that you had to go through before you could put livestock in.
I think it did. Also, I did a lot of reading and a lot of YouTubing, watching videos before I did this step, because I think information is key. And even if you know things can always go bad, but at least you don't panic as much. So that's
Yeah,
one thing.
that's right.
where are you located, Lorena? I missed that part when she was introducing you.
What was that, Mark? Where
I was
Lorena?
just wondering where she's located.
Oh, yes,
I'm
Italy.
so,
If I'm Lorena, you're in Italy, right?
oh, I'm in Italy. I'm in North. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Swiss Ocean. Hey, guys, how y'all doing? Just joined from the other side. Nice. Glad you could make it. Cool. So, Lorena, your tank. I notice you have some torches and some stony corals and some softies. So, do you have an idea of what other corals you want to add in the future?
Uh, I have some very simple corals. I have trying to build a little bit of a Euphilia garden over here.
Oh, nice.
And I have a Duncan, which I think it's my favorite coral. I have a few mushrooms, a rhodactis, a small like zoa garden. Also, in this moment, they're all kind of closing. Maybe I think the shrimp walked all over them. I don't know. Sinularia, and very like the very simple stony corals like plating montipora, and I don't know what the other one is called, but I also took just corals that nice under a bit, let's lighter light. I don't like too blue.
Yeah.
I think it might be like a European thing. I'm not sure, but I think it could be just personal preference. I like to see natural corals and natural lights and natural colors and corals. So
Yep. I think it is a personal preference, but I know what you mean about European tanks. The lighting is definitely different than what we see here. And I sometimes wonder if even the video and photography skills are different than what we have here, because I'm still working on a spectrum for this tank that I won't have to change all the time if I want to take video. Because right now, if I take my filter off, that's the natural, that's what you see on camera. But if I put the filter on, it's much closer to what it actually looks like, you know. And I don't want to have filters all the time. I would much prefer to be able to just take my iPhone and have it look right instead of really, really, really blue. But I haven't reached that point yet. I haven't figured it out. I guess I guess a priority should be light that makes the corals grow. That might be part of it, but yeah. And what type of canister filter do you have running your tank? Oh, I think you might be frozen, Lorena.
Oh, it's an, hold on, let me see if I can open the cabinet. It's an Oase filter with, I think it's a really good one because it has this pre-filter with sponges. So if I need to clean it up, I don't have to open everything. I just pull this one up and just clean the sponges that are like in a tube. Yep. So it's very easy. I mean, it's not as laborious and it's as messy as some other, you know, filters could be. Also, it has an inbuilt, so I don't have a heater inside in the, so it's, I like it.
Yeah, that's a good.
So far, so good.
That feature for cleaning, what a great idea, because I would always have to take, like, lift the lever to close the valves and remove the hoses, and then pull out the canister and then carry it over to the sink. And those things, when you have, you know, maybe 4 gallons of water in there, like, they're heavy. And so to carry it over to the sink, get it in, it was just, and I think that's one of the reasons I was not very diligent cleaning, is because it was a pain in the neck. Yeah. I used to call it a pain in something else, but we're going to be polite because it's Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, this one is very, very, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. No, it's very easy. Plus, I'm not going to clean it that much in these next, let's say, months, because again, as many of you said, I don't want to bottom out with the nutrients. So
yeah, I think you're making lots of intelligent choices, and that's probably because you spent so much time
how about you?
Sorry, I think you might have cut out again.
Yeah, it took me a lot of time a lot of courage to get all of this together, because at this moment, you know, energy is not getting cheaper, and I would like to fill it up with coral, but you know, I have to keep it slow. I have to keep it slow because it's not, as someone said, nothing good happens quickly. So very slow.
Yeah. Oh, you'll get there for sure. I realized the other day, this tank behind me has only actually had livestock.
But I see a beautiful aquarium. Yeah, I see beautiful.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry.
We're working with the lag.
No, I said I see a beautiful. Yeah, sorry. I see a beautiful aquarium there that Marc has also. It's full of beautiful colors. And I'm wondering what that purple one in the middle front is.
Well, let me grab my fancy little pointer that I stole from the fish store.
I'll pop Marc up first. Thanks for the tour, Lorena. I'll put Marc up.
So I think you're referring to this one down here?
Oh, thank you for having me.
Lorena, is
Yes.
this the one?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
So
right.
it's actually a Zoa garden. It's a Armor of God variant, is what it's called. So let me see if I can move things in a
Oh,
little bit here.
my, the names.
And let me try, see how this works. We're experimenting now. We're going to pull a page out of Cindy's playbook.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. All right.
Oh,
So,
wow, look at that. I need to,
so
I
apparently
need to get one of these.
I have a Polyp Lab version 2 phone clip for taking pictures, and apparently it works on the laptop too. So I'll take it.
Oh,
So as you can see, like it's actually quite an orange red. A couple of the newer pieces that I've gotten are I finally have a torch, Cindy. I went to the dark side.
Woo!
I have a hot mess, I guess it's called. HAWT.
Really, that's a new name. You know, you guys are going to have to help me one day actually put names to mine because they don't have names, and obviously they need names.
Oh,
Like I have a
I'm
black.
terrified to do that on mine
I
because
have a
there's things in here I still don't know the names of.
Well, my husband named one the black-hearted widow or something like that. Okay, that's a good one.
So yeah, there's that, and then there's my brand new the Acanthrophilia.
Nice.
And now that I've been playing with things, I showed you my SPS rack previously, did I not, Cindy?
I can't remember, honestly.
So the local fish store, the owner was having such a hard time with his SPS, and quite a few of them had just died off. There was no coloration. They just looked like, you could tell they still had that flesh, but there was no color to it.
Yeah.
So he made me a really, really good deal, and I got 6 frags for like $200, I think I paid.
Wow.
But now, having been in my tank, let me see if I can.
I got myself a UV flashlight, and I use it when I'm not sure whether there's any viable tissue. And it always will tell you, like if you see the green or whatever color, you'll always know. Even if you look at something and it's pure white, you shine the UV on it, and it's amazing what it'll show you, like the dead parts of the coral versus the live parts.
Oh, I know.
Invincible.
That's one of the favorite things I think I've ever received from you.
Oh, that's right. I just remembered. I sent you the one because I got the different one, and I sent you the one I originally had. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it.
And it still worked.
No battery yet. Awesome.
Well, I mean, I've put it through the washer once, but I mean,
does that exactly work?
Pardon?
yeah, it really works. It works really, really well.
How does that exactly work?
The UV?
So the UV spectrum is what makes all the corals actually pop when you turn that blue light on. So it's like a small black light flashlight, and so like what you're seeing in my tank right now is I have the settings changed around so that I produce mainly a blue light right now, and that's what's reacting. Now let me see if I can.
Oh, I understand. So if the coral has like dead cells and does not have any fluorescent, it means that part is probably dead. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, sometimes it'll fluoresce blue, depending on what kind of skeleton it is, but that's pretty rare. Usually you do it when the lights are out, when it's dark. That's when I use it. That's when it shows up. And any dead parts of the coral, they just won't show up, but the live parts will. Well,
All
that's
right,
very interesting.
So what we have
I
is
didn't ever think about it.
pardon my fingers on. Oh, it's so horrible with this camera. But he's got a beautiful, like, pinky purple skin and bright yellow tips.
Nice.
Yeah, you can see in the light there, he just kind of goes almost pure yellowy.
Very pretty.
I wish I had a better camera.
Oh, hey.
I think that's probably going to be my next big investment.
Yeah. I use
So
my
then
eye.
we have.
Yeah.
Oh,
It might
it's just not doing it justice. It's so hard to see. I might
Especially
have to switch back to the phone for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come here, little buddy. Let's move my snails over. They're forever tossing things out of my frag rack.
Hey, Lorena, Tony Close says 2 of his LFS, one runs a canister filters only, and the other is sump only. So definitely a personal choice, and both work.
Here, let's try this.
And Algae Warrior Garrett Markey says the trachea is looking great. Oh, hey, Adrenalizer, glad you could make it. I think that's the first time I've seen that name. And he says Mark has a beautiful tank. So there you go.
All right, so you're going to see me popping up in your little lobby there in a moment, Cindy, on my cellular.
Right away. Yeah, that green cabbage leather, it always flared my camera right out. I tried to get video of it. It's really hard. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, it's very pretty. Very, very pretty.
Let's do this. Oh, can you go sideways, Mark? With your horizontal, with your camera, with your phone? Maybe you can't hear me. Hey, WVU Reefer, if you use ReefGrrl@gmail.com and send it there, I can do my best to upload them. It is a process, so I might have to work at it a little bit, and then once I get them uploaded, we can show them. That'd be awesome. Oh, hey, Jamie Reef Tank. Casey Wagner has a question here. Maybe anyone who's watching might have an idea. Any idea what would vivisect a bunch of micro brittle stars? I put a couple pieces of rock in the 5-gallon last night to start a Xenia pico, and all the micro stars were torn apart this morning. And I commented, I wondered whether they were reproducing. And he said, I don't know, the legs were all ripped loose and lying there. Only one was moving around, no movement on it now. I got so many of them in the rock I got with the candy canes. Oh, maybe there's something living in there that that you didn't know was there. Maybe it was eating something else. Cool. Oh, there we go.
Yes, you might have a mystery guest. Maybe look what's going on at night when the lights are off.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, because that's when all that kind of action seems to happen. Look at these corals. So, Mark, is that another one that you got in your deal?
That's so pretty.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yep.
There we go. I just had to use the right headset. So, yeah, I got this one I've been able to find out is a Ponape.
Yep, Ponape bird's nest.
Yes.
Yep, gets needle sharp branches.
Yes, there we go.
That's pretty.
This guy is the slowest one. The pillar here in the back, if it'll focus.
There we go.
Oh, and my lights changed. Still good coloration though.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that looks to me like the Montipora that I have that's getting the weirdest growth patterns you can ever imagine, that creates the cave for the angelfish, you know, at the front.
Yeah.
It's those little towers are double the height that they were, and they just still keep growing upwards. So bizarre.
Oh, that's, yeah. All right. Just 1 sec here. I got to change over the settings so I can get the coloration back.
Casey Wagner says, I had spaghetti worms and fireworms as hitchhikers. Haven't found a mantis or anything yet. WVU, the rare foot coral. Is that crazy T, Monty? I'm going to take a picture of mine and pop it up when WVU. Oh, there's a bunch. Let's see if I can move over some of these photos. Did you guys hear that little noise?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I might have to mute my mic because you're going to hear a whole bunch as I upload WVU reefers. All right. Well, now you're frozen, Mark. Well, here, I'll show you this while Mark's, how big is that?
We can see some feet.
Yeah.
There we go. How's that?
That's better.
So as you can see, that's one of the other SPS spots.
Yep.
Beautiful manta.
Yeah, that looks like beach bum or one of those. Now, what
It's not a beach bum.
is undone?
I haven't figured out what it is yet, though.
Cool. Oh, I'm going to mute my mic because that's going to bug you. You can talk, Mark.
So then I got this one here. That's the one that I was showing that the color wasn't coming out. And here is the other one that I was trying to show.
Wow, such beautiful colors.
I was just sitting here going, oh, that's a moon coral, Goniastria. I was doing some reading and then I went, my mic is muted.
Okay. So yeah, this one here, like I was saying, like it grows into this beautiful column shape, but that is all the coloration on it. So it seems to be one of my slowest.
And so what? So the whole thing is live tissue, and then it's just green on top.
No, it used to be, but this whole area that's that dark purple now is just dead. But I've been able to, like the tip there that you see.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, it started out as just that one little dark pimple on the left.
Yep.
And then it all went to that, and it's just been kind of expanding since.
Wow.
Turn this guy around. And there's the Ponape.
That's really good color. They're very prone to getting super light, and I think it's, in my experience, it's been hard to keep the yellow and pink. They just kind of fade out, so the yellow turns almost white and the pink gets really dull.
Yes.
I have one presently, and I found a spot for it where it can grow without me having to worry about the fish zooming past and getting eviscerated. Because that's the only issue with bird's nests, that I'm not going to put any hystrix or Seriatopora in. But this Ponape, I'm going to put in a little hollow so that my fish can't cut themselves on it if they're swimming by really fast. So hopefully it'll color up once it's in the proper lighting, because right now it's on a frag rack, but yeah.
Yeah, I found for mine, like the biggest part was getting the coloration over. And they didn't start doing that until after they were in the frag rack.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, moving them around and seeing what works.
So there's the new torch, the hot mess. And I've been able to find the octospawn is just a lemon lime.
It's so pretty. I wish I could have one, but I'm too afraid of killing it.
It took me a year and a half of having corals and fish in the tank before I was comfortable enough to put any euphilia in. And this
Ooh,
one's
that's a long
actually
time.
my oldest coral in the tank.
What is that? Rhodactis? No, it's a plating coral.
Which one? This one up here?
Yeah, a Monty?
Just
Plating Monty? No,
it's an encrusting of
encrusting
some
Monty?
sort.
Hmm.
That looks like a Leptocerus to me.
Yeah, so originally when I got it, it was just the top of the square, and I could have swore I killed it. It was pure white. There was no color to it, nothing. Like it didn't even react under the blue light. But then I wanted to throw it out. The wife said no, and this is what it's come back to.
Yeah, it looks like Mr. Free. I've seen something like that called Mr. Freeze Leptocerus. Leptocerus has so many variants. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I have at least 4. And I'm trying now to find the right light levels for them, because they're super low light coral.
That I see. If I put him down too low, like on the sandbed area, he doesn't do well at all.
Yeah.
I took him up like an inch higher, and he started bleaching. So that's kind of the one layer I can have him on.
Yeah.
I'm still loving this guy. If I can just get him to grow. It's an Inferno Chalice.
Okay. Yep.
When I got him, he was an 1/8 of an inch, like just tiny. And we have some new anemones in the tank. You can't really see, but they're super spotted, like almost freckled. And they've already started spreading. So we'll take care of them soon.
Nice. There, I
Little
sent all the pictures.
finger leather.
Twice. And Andrew Hudson said, "Nice wall of GSP." My
So which
urchin-
one would you say is your favorite?
See, that's hard. So this is one of my favorites, just because of how beautiful it is. The gold dust acanthophyllia. But overall, I definitely have to say it is my cabbage coral. That was a gift from my wife. When I first got him, he was the size of
That's
a
nice.
euro coin.
Softy love.
They are spectacular. Those
Yeah.
toxic green. Oh yeah.
And then my new Ghani.
Nice.
He's doing so much better than the other two, but they're starting to pick back up now that I moved them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can bring them back, apparently that's quite a feat. Because
Well,
once they start going downhill, from what I've read, it's hard to get them back. But having said that, my green Goniopora that I bought as a frag, that size, you know, the one you have that's half on half of the frag plug.
Yeah.
And it grew out to a huge, beautiful, waving tentacle ball. And then for whatever reason, it just started to die back. And I thought I had lost it. I put it in the 150 when I moved everything over from the Reef. I put it on its arch in the 150. When I went to move the arch, I had my husband Dremel off what was left of it. There were 3 polyps that you could see, and they weren't even out. They were just 3 green dots. Now I have it in this tank, and it's covered the entire piece of skeleton that we cut off, which is about 1 inch across, and the polyps are starting to come out again. So I don't know whether I got lucky or I just finally found where it's happy. No idea, but I'm not touching it.
That makes perfect sense. So the
Cindy,
GSP wall, it's a
could you
long
maybe
tentacle.
share where it is right now?
Who, me, Lorena?
I'm sorry, I'm talking all over you because I have terrible lag. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, because I have 2 small fragments, and like they're not opening up. They're really closed, and they look like little rocks, but I've seen them open, so I know they do, but I don't know what they prefer.
Well, the green one that's coming back it's in the middle of the tank, like as far as top, it's halfway down the tank from the top. So I would say, I'm just looking at my par map here, it's probably in medium light. It says 170 par in that spot. And the flow is fairly chaotic and fairly strong. Whereas before, when it was starting to go downhill, it was in a lower flow area in lower light. I still think something happened, something started eating it or irritating it. I'm not 100% sure. Well, there's your triggerfish.
Yeah.
But I would say medium light, decent flow, but not straight hard flow. And if it's variable, then I think it benefits from that. And one of the things I bought this week was a telephoto lens for my iPhone phone camera, and it does a 23 times optical zoom. So I'm hoping to be able to get decent video of the Acropora and the various sticks I have in, and also where I have the Goniopora garden, because it's on an angle that goes from the side of the tank into the middle of the tank towards the back. So the angle is facing away from the closest place I can see it or use my camera. So I have to figure out a way to start getting decent images of these things to share, because that's the thing about this tank that I'm learning. There are lots of places that really are hard to see. Oh, and Andrew Hudson says
you could totally get a GoPro and put it inside.
I know, right? I've thought about it. And Andrew Hudson, Goniopora can sulk for a few weeks, then grows again. And that reminded me, one of my Goniopora is a little pink one with purpley pink stems and yellow petals and like an orangey center. Really pretty. And I got it last October, and it only started opening up maybe 2 months ago. So like maybe in June. I had it for 6 months, and all I saw was a little mound, half an inch across, with pinky yellow dots on it. It took that long for me to find the right place for it. And it turned out it was more flow, more light that it needed. And now in this tank, it's looking amazing. So sometimes you got to move them around a little bit, maybe. And Mark,
I'll
Sammy,
try that. I've moved it once and it seemed happy, and then again just closed up. I said, nope, not going to do it.
And I meant to ask you about water changes. whether you do water changes, because it comes to mind that Goniopora, when I was having problems with it, I read that they need the correct potassium level. They benefit from slightly high, but it's not good for them if it's low. So I don't know if potassium is something that you can test for, but it's worth checking, especially if you're depending on your water change schedule.
Yeah, I have never had a test kit for potassium, but I did do water changes almost weekly at the beginning. Now it's twice a week of about 20%, something like that. 15. Once every 2 weeks. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's a month. Yeah.
But I'll see if they prefer weekly small water changes. Maybe that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say. And I fluff up my sand frequently
because it's right
in the water. And I think you benefit from that. Yeah. What are we looking at? Oh yeah, that's your Goni? Here, let me
I'll try. I'll try and see what happens. I have 2 of them. I bought 2 of them. And it's completely closed up, as you see. It's really, it looks like it really wants to open, but
well, this will make you feel better. My pink one that I was talking about wasn't as open as that. The surface was smooth. You could see the skeleton, and all that there were flat pink dots. That's how I knew it was still alive. It didn't even open up this much for months. So I would think that it maybe just needs a little more light, maybe.
But it did survive, so that's a good thing, I suppose.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Maybe it's actually doing better now when I put it a bit lower, but because it was in this higher, like mid-arch area before, and it was more closed up than it is now. So I'll give it a few weeks and then see how it goes.
And I also found out there are like a couple dozen species of Goniopora. So like any coral, we don't know what species we have. It's so hard to identify, and we don't know
we lost someone.
Right? So yeah.
Oh no.
Algae Warrior says, my Goniopora like shaded area with lower flow. Oh, interesting. Oh, hey, Scotty. See you later. Okay. So
can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, excellent.
Did we lose you?
No, I had set the phone down. I was doing the dad thing again, and forgot that I still had the headset on, but I was on the wrong connection.
So anybody want to see pictures from WVU Reefer?
I'm always up for seeing pictures.
Awesome. Okay. Let's show some pictures. I finally managed to get them uploaded, or did I? No, I didn't. But I will do that right now. Let's upload them all at once. Okay.
I wish this camera didn't bleach everything out so much.
It's so hard to get the light balance correct, especially with bright colors.
I think it's just more so the camera on the computer. It's not super great. It is something that I do want to, like you said, I really want to look at upgrading at some point.
Well, and I'm sitting in front of a Mac, and the webcam I think it focuses on me and not the tank. But even if I move out of the frame, the focus doesn't change.
It might be the distance part of it.
Yeah. Or is it better? Is it better if I'm not in the frame?
Not really. Kind of the same.
It's still kind of blurry. So anyway. Okay, pictures. We got pictures from WVU Reefer. Let me see what this is. Show. Oh, there's a Goniopora, since we were just talking about them. That's what mine looked like, my green one, except it also has green stems that have like little horizontal, they look like wrinkles, but they're actually horizontal stripes of green and like purple alternating. They're thin. Looks really cool. That's beautiful. So there's that. And then we've got, this is from WVU Reefer. Look at this view. Isn't that nice?
Now that's something to be jealous of there.
Wow, very pretty. There's Space Invader Pectinia at the bottom.
A Pectinia, that's, I haven't seen a lot of those here.
They're not too common, and I think it's because they're a little tricky to frag because of the way they grow. And before I fragged mine, I did a lot of reading about them. And they're subject to bacterial infections if you tear the flesh.
Oh, so you really have to cut it, Vice.
So you have to use a scalpel, cut the flesh, then cut the skeleton, and then put it in a weak solution of iodine to make sure you deal with any bacteria.
Oh, wow.
I was lucky when I eventually did frag it that because of the crashes that I had and the things that happened to that thing, none of the pieces I took off had to be cut apart because the skeleton between them was
Well,
already.
I'm sitting in front of a Mac, and the webcam is, I think it focuses on
You might
me.
have to mute your volume there, Garrett. I mean, sorry.
The focus doesn't change. I might.
Unless it's Lorena, it's probably Marc. Okay. Yeah, so then above that's a Recordia, and it looks like rock flower anemones right beside a big plating purple Monty with another plating Monty, and then what looks like, can't tell what that is, whether it's moving, whether it's a coral, like some sort of a stick or bird's nest or stylophora maybe. Then on the left is a toadstool. Nice wrasse coming over the rocks. Anemone way up top. Bunch of sticks. Looks really nice. Oh, that's a grafted Monty. I see now, right to the, on the right-hand side of the purple Monty cap at the top of it is orange and green or red and green. Very nice. All right, next. Oh, beautiful. Full tank shot. Wow. Really pretty. Cool. I should be looking at the comments as well. We have my Bernardopora like shaded area with lower flow. Yeah, that's the short tentacle. Goniopora. It's similar, but it's not the same. Goniopora really do not like to be downflow from mushrooms. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, Lorena lost her internet. Oh, bubble tip. Milka stylo. Oh, okay. I'm looking for a frag of that. The Milka stylo. I bought what I thought were that. And apparently that's, according to Jake Adams, that's the only stylo that actually exists in our hobby. But we'll see when I put it in my tank. Oh, there's Lorena back. There she is.
So they don't like being down water
So,
of mushrooms.
Internet's so frustrating sometimes. It really is. Yes.
Yeah, it just gave up on me, so I'm sorry. I missed the last like 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway, I would really like to say thanks. I'm going to maybe leave you so someone else can join, and this internet is just not helping me this evening. So,
well, thanks for taking the time to come in. It was really good to meet you in well, not in person, but to meet you and see your take, and stay in touch. I'll be interested to see how things go with your fish situation. And
Definitely.
yeah, and it's looking good. I think you got a great start. Awesome.
Thank you for your thank you for your kindness and your support. It's really important. And good luck with everything. Also, Mark, your aquarium is looking beautiful. Cindy, I know you've been through a lot of bad things to come to get where you are. So kudos for sticking by. I would have just given up. So
Thanks,
really.
Lorena. Thank you.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. Please come back soon.
Mhm. Awesome. Okay, let's look at more
I
pictures.
will, thanks. Bye. Greetings from Italy. Hot Italy.
Yeah. See you later. All right. We got another picture here. Did I show this one already? I think I might have uploaded a couple of these twice because I was borderline brain dead while I was doing it. Okay. This one. Very nice. Look at those sticks. Oh, there's another stylo. This I'm moving my mouse pointer as if you can see it. I keep forgetting. The what looks like a Monty in the middle there, WVU. Is that a sunset Monty? I have a sunset Monty that's the orange skin with the green polyps, and I have a heck of a time getting that orange coloration to stick. I have no problems with a little forest of polyps that look absolutely wonderful, but the orange is not coming through. It is a darker color, and I can't figure out why. And those anemones, wow. And then we've got this one. And that looks like a tort, a Miyagi tort right in the middle at the top. Kind of looks like that growth pattern. I have a couple of those that are going to be going in this tank in the next week or so. Wow, thanks for those pictures. It's always awesome to see that. So yeah, so Mark, looks like you got a good image right now.
Yeah, the camera actually decided to, adjust like it's supposed to. I am in the middle of maintenance, so you're going to hear some things kicking on and off. I had some surgery there end of last week, so I have to keep getting my son to do the heavy lifting.
No. Well, there's some questions. Milka Stylo, I have 3 mini colonies to give away. Darn it, if you were in Canada.
We would be all over that as always.
Oh yeah, because Milka Stylo, they do exist out here. And the one place I found online that has one, it's $75 for shipping. And I cannot pay $75 for shipping.
I'm not going to lie, that has been one of the biggest things for me because I would say a good 60% of all of the onlines are all either in BC or Ontario and all that, and the shipping tends to be the biggest killer for me.
Mm-hmm. I think there is a coral vendor in Montreal I think they do online, but don't quote me on it. Sharbuckle's Reef might know that. I don't know, Sean, if you're watching this afternoon. But yes, what we have here, Milka Stylo, 3 mini. Do the bubble tips stay put for the most part? And W Reefer is asking. Large green stick at the top. I don't know what kind of an acro that was, but it kind of looks like the Montipora hirsuta that I have growing. Kind of, I say, but not quite, because the one that I have has plating sections that then sprout branches all over the place, and it's extremely invasive. And I have a beautiful frag that I'm trying to decide whether to put in this tank or not, because I'm doing my best not to include invasive corals, because over time they just become a problem. So I actually prefer things that don't grow super, super fast, because I really don't want in a year from now to have things that are so crowded that I have to cut it all back. I would much rather, believe it or not, I would much rather see the gradual growth come in so that I can control what touches what and how things kind of live side by side, because I've been through that, mainly because I put stuff way too close together. So I'm doing my best not to do that. And I've also identified some things I have that I'm sort of backing off on adding just because of how fast they grow. Yeah, so that green stick, I know the one you're talking about there, Andrew. I don't think it's Montipora hirsuta, but it looks like a nice fast grower, judging by the size of it. Oh, and WVU says, my bubble tips stay for the most part, just not where I want them. Reverse sunset. Okay. Yeah, and I have problems with orange in that one. Oh, B Speak just talked with Jake Adams yesterday at a coral farmers market. He's so knowledgeable about coral. Yes, he really is, because I've started watching the Reef Therapy. I kind of binged on them for a while, and then I didn't have time to keep up with it. And there's a lot to learn from those two guys talking, Jake Adams and Marc Wahlberg? No, that's not right. I can't remember his last name. But they do Reef Therapy. They call it Reef Therapy, and they just talk. And it's fascinating what you can pick up from that. WVU, you're right. Green Planet Tabling Acro. Oh, nice. Yes, Frag Box is in Toronto and they ship. And actually, I was going to say the best shipping rates I've found are from Frag Box when it comes to coral. And like I said last week, probably 80% of my Red Sea tank was from Frag Box. And I've just started ordering again from them because I'm sort of dipping my toe in the water of online orders. And as it happens, the first order that I put in back in the winter got delayed by a day. It was just a nightmare. There were a couple of the corals did survive, luckily, but talk about good customer service. They refunded the entire order, and how can you complain about that? And it wasn't even their fault. So yeah, they're good to deal with, very good. And Fragbox TV is fun to watch. Vanderwall, Algae Warrior. Yes, Vanderwall. I always listen to their podcast from Lorena, Mark Vanderwall. Hey, Drug Monkey RX. Drug Monkey RX. March is a good guy. Oh, yeah. Yep, March was probably the very first online vendor from whom I ordered corals back in the day when I was buying zoanthids for my 29-gallon cube. So this is going back probably, I want to say 2013, 2014. So a long time ago. Yeah. So Mark, you help out at the fish store, or do you actually have like a real, you're on the payroll, or how does that work for you?
I'm actually not there any longer. Okay. My Monday to Friday kind of has put a big kibosh on that right now. So, yeah. But yeah, I had full access to the store. I was working there on my Sunday. It gave me a lot of opportunity to kind of see the backside of everything that, as a reef keeper, we don't normally see.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, it did give me some perfect opportunities to cherry pick when orders came in.
Oh, yeah.
As you can see by, I have to say, like, the hot mess, the Acanthophilia, the Trachophilia, the Goniopora, what other ones? The fish, the trigger, my coal tang, and my Banggai cardinals. All of them were, as soon as they came in, they went straight into the quarantine, finished the quarantine period, and then right into my tank.
Yeah. And I see you have a magnificent fox face.
I do. That was the pinnacle of something that I wanted when I first got into this. Yep. That is the fish that started the whole catastrophe that I call my hobby.
Yeah, I know, right? I wanted a magnificent from day one as well. And I didn't ever get an opportunity to get one until I had moved. When I moved the reef tank into the 90-gallon holding tank and I had the mass fish death, I then was on the lookout again for fish, and especially herbivores. And so there was a tank tear down, or this fish was getting bullied. I can't remember what the problem was, but it showed up at Sustainable Marine. And so I inquired about it, and so I bought it from them. It is a beautiful fish. This fish has the red on its dorsal fin like you can't believe. It is amazing. It's really hard to see though because he's still in the 150, so I can only see from the top that he's almost an inch thick. He's really healthy, big, and fat.
Mine is, let me, because I only ever see the stinker from the side. I would say he's probably a good half-inch thick now.
Yeah.
So he is getting there, but I mean, he's still kind of small.
Yeah. Yeah.
And although it is, only a 90 in here, I do currently have plans to, like I said previously, follow in your crazy footsteps and go super large.
Yay, join the crazy.
Yeah, I just got to figure out how to talk them into letting me have 300 gallons in here.
Well, people think you're crazy, and this proves it.
Well, yeah.
You see, now I'm looking at the picture of I'm looking on screen at my tank. And to me, the water looks clearer than I've seen it in a long time. So I don't know whether maybe it's just because I'm not wearing my glasses when I'm looking at it. It could be something as simple as that, but it looks clear right now.
Yeah, mine is actually really clear. I changed over my filter socks. I have a newer brand that I have in there now, and I think it's a 200 micron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it has made such a big difference.
Yeah. See, now that you mention that, I made my filter boxes for downstairs. I have 8 of them, and they've been in operation now for about 2, maybe 3 months. It was very early on that I did them, and the fabric is starting to pill from the washing machine, and I'm concerned that it isn't still 100 microns. I suspect that it's starting to back off a little bit because it was that fleece from Coral Life, the really, really dense stuff.
Yeah.
And so I bought more, and I'm going to be making more. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's letting through a little bit more than it used to, just to the point where it is starting to show up a little bit late in the day. I don't know, but it looks good right now. So you know what? I'm going to enjoy it.
I was going to say, take it for what it is. Take the win when it gives you.
Right now. Oh, here, and let me show you my crazy Montipora. Did I upload that one?
Yeah, I swear you keep teasing me with all these corals you have up there, and one of these days, Cindy, there's going to be a knock on your front door. It's just going to meet me with a bucket.
Honestly, go for it. I mean, yeah, there's the Montipora that's got the stupid, crazy growth pattern.
Wow, that is so interesting.
It's supposed to be encrusting, and every time I look at it, I don't know what to expect next.
Well, I can see where the encrusting is, but at the same time, like it almost looks like it's done like the cabbage coral.
It's weird. And I put it there temporarily when it first got moved into the tank because I wanted to wait and see where I was going to put it because I hadn't decided because it was a weird shape. None of those pillars were that tall. They have about doubled in height since I put it in here. But I leaned it up against the barnacle, and the next thing I know, the female angelfish is in there swishing around all over the place and throwing sand out. And you can maybe see in the center there's a dark area. That's the actual bottom glass. She's got it cleaned right out, and that's where she sleeps now. So I have to leave it there. So yeah.
That's an interesting one.
And then behind it, you can see one of my weepy toadstools. I have many frags of those. If anybody wants one for nothing, I have to harvest them from where they're growing, but it's very easy to just cut them off, drop them in rubble. Once they attach to some little bits of rubble, then I just glue that onto a piece of rock, and it's good to go. But yeah. So yeah, that's that crazy plating, encrusting neon green Monty. And I got that from Fragbox as a 1-inch square. And just recently, we took that piece out of the tank to remove the original frag plug because the stem was hanging down in the middle of the cave. And we were kind of worried that the fish would hurt themselves on it because sometimes they zoom through there if they're chasing each other. And so we cut the stem off the frag plug, and the plateau or the platform stayed attached. So it's safer now, but the original frag plug is still underneath there, and it's roughly in the middle. Just the weird stuff that happens. And Andrew Hudson says, biggest mistake I made was adding some pulsing xenia when I first started. Biggest weed in the tank. I've heard that so often, which has made me reluctant to put it in here. I do have some downstairs still. Actually, now that I think about it, it is in this system because that piece of rock got moved over into the 150. So I'm going to have to watch out. Yes, Lorena, I heard a stream by Reef Bum with a microbiologist. He said if you have some hazy water, it might be a bacterium bloom. Oh, yes. Yeah, that kind of hazy, I have seen. I've dealt with that. And the thing that's mysterious about this is that it starts so clear in the morning and gradually gets hazy. And then as soon as the lights go out, it's clear.
Everything looks clear again.
So I'm speculating that it's microalgae that's growing in the water column during the day because of the window here.
How's your phyto dosing?
I put in about 3 ounces, maybe 3 times a week, directly into this tank. And when I do that, everything, the polyps come out, and the tentacles and everything. Yeah, I really keep control on it because it's live, and I don't want to have a green tank. There's a guy, Koali Aquariums, Koaleigh. He started growing live phyto, and he had it set up to supply automatically to his aquarium. And the inevitable happened. It did a dump.
Oh, no.
It proliferated in the tank, and he had green water.
Oh, I'd imagine.
I'm pretty careful about the phyto. Yeah. Casey Wagner. What town are you in? Families visiting from Smiths Falls can send back big candy canes if you're in the Ottawa area. No, I'm not in Ottawa area. I'm sort of near London, about 35 minutes east of London, in kind of a small city. And my LFS is actually Big Al's in Kitchener because that's the closest, most convenient one. And actually, they've become such a good store in the couple of years that I've been going there because they're really starting to focus more on marine stuff. And I can hardly wait till the renovations are done and see what happens next. They have a lot of reptiles too. Yeah. So, unfortunately.
Oh boy.
But I'm going to have lots of smithereen frags of Montipora hirsuta. Mark, you know what I should do? I should see whether I can ship you some of this stuff, or even Casey. Because
you know what? I have family that goes through Ontario all the time.
Yeah.
So have to definitely set something up, send some stuff up to you.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what it would cost for me to pack up, 6 or 8, like however many. I have lots of boxes. Let me tell you, when you order online a lot, you get a lot of the shipping boxes.
Oh, I know that.
We should talk. I should figure something out to just, because, I mean, if you got 10 frags in a shipment, even if it costs $60 to ship, that'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Just for the overall, like, you can't even get 1 frag a lot of times for that. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'll look into it and just see whether we can do a live stream, frag shipping giveaway. That would be fun.
That would be really fun, actually.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to test my alkalinity because I'm getting 2 different readings.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh,
ABC.
My Neptune is great for that. Lately, it seems. I think I have to do a full recalibration again.
Yeah, technology's great until it isn't. Oh, hey, BC. ReefGrrl, is your hazing problem from a change in lighting throughout the day and include the outside light? Sorry if I'm not clear in English, not favored language, Doc. That's my speculation. The lighting profile does change through the day. It ramps up for about an hour in the morning, and then it stays level throughout the day, and then it ramps down again at each channel has a different ramping down time until everything goes off. And I also have the clouds set with the Atlantic V4 Gen 2s. You can set clouds, weak clouds or strong clouds. And what that does is reduces the light for 5 minutes, 5 to 15, no, 15 minutes every hour. Is it 15? I have to look it up. I can't remember. But the light gets reduced by a certain percentage regularly every hour. And the theory behind that is that it gives the corals an opportunity to get rid of toxins that build up during the photosynthetic process. And so I did some reading about it and I thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. And so I've set up the clouds. So every so often the lights dim down and then they come back. So that change does happen as well, but they don't get brighter, they get darker. And yeah, I'm speculating it is because of the lighting. And the light that comes in from this window here, right now I have the blinds closed. Most times I keep the blinds mostly closed. And sometimes late in the day, just because I like how it looks, I'll open them up and just let the sunlight stream in because it looks really cool. And I don't know, the fish seem to enjoy it. They kind of swim up and down this side and you know, they just, it's almost like they're basking or something. I don't know. But if I'm around and if I have 15 or 20 minutes, I'll come in and just flip the blinds and just observe the tank. And the sand always looks so beautiful, and I don't know, it's just really nice. Casey Wagner used to live in London. Nice aquarium store there, but I wasn't into tanks back then. Are you talking about Incredible Aquarium? Because that's where I got my Pectinia. And what else did I buy from him? My original pair of angelfish I bought from Bill at Incredible Aquarium. And he had them in 2 separate tanks. And I was apparently not the first person who wanted to buy the pair. And the problem they always had was they couldn't catch the female. So they never got sold because anyone that wanted them as a pair. And they weren't being sold as a pair. Like they were priced individually, but anyone that wanted them wanted a pair. Then he had a disaster happen where his, I think 480 that he had for his display in his grow out tank developed a crack. And it was just all hands on deck, save what you can. So he ended up having to empty the tank the female was in so that he could put something else in there just at the time when I wanted to buy the pair of fish and go pick them up. And so I was the lucky one who got them as a pair because he was finally able to catch the female. And that was Incredible Aquarium. And he had a 90-gallon cube that was just amazing. Some of the beautiful corals he had in there were just outstanding. I remember he had a Diaceras that was red. And since then, I've never seen a red Diaceras. I've seen lots of green with purple rim, but I've never seen a red one since I saw the one that he has or had. But he's not there anymore. Casey, those frag box containers are awesome. They are. I emailed them to offer to send frags in one of their boxes just so I can free up space. No response, though. Yeah, I don't know whether, I'm not sure. I think March will take stuff in, but usually from people whose tanks he knows. So he's relatively sure that what they're going to bring in is going to be healthy and safe and all of that. So I don't know that it would be something he would do through shipping like that. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I may be speaking out of turn, but I have heard him mention that, you know, they do have certain customers that will bring stuff in that they will accept. Yeah, so maybe that's why. Also, can someone from US drive fish or corals to you without hassle, or is it verboten? Anything with a skeleton, is it for corals, has to have permits because of CITES. And you need an export permit from the vendor in the US. And as the purchaser in Canada, you need an import permit. So you need both. So if you're going to a coral show, it's a chicken and egg thing because you don't know what you're going to get. And people vending at a coral show don't know what they're going to sell. So it just isn't done. That being said, I know of people who do drive them across the border, they declare them and they get through. It just happens that whoever they're dealing with or whatever happens, they don't get checked. But if you do that, you have to be prepared to give them up because they really aren't legal to bring across without the proper paperwork. They would be confiscated. And that's why whatever I get, I always declare, because if you get it through, then great. And if you don't, then you've declared it. Because if you don't declare it and they find it, it just makes it 5 times worse. And that's where the money and the fines come in.
So is it a 50-50, do you find? Like how much luck do you have going across border with them?
I've never brought stony corals across, but I have brought live sponges and macroalgae. And I declared it and I never had a problem. Now, I don't know if that's because they're not considered plants. So they're not prohibited. I never really looked into it. I've also brought pods across from a place in Buffalo that the name escapes me right now. Yeah, so, but that's what I've done, but I've always declared it. And I don't know that I could even put like I've never had anything confiscated. When I boiled my corals accidentally, a lot of those were stony corals, but I mean, I had the thing written down and I was prepared to declare them because I would not try and cross without declaring them. So as it turned out, it didn't matter anyway. 2 tanks on sunlight. Oh, I run 2 tanks mostly on sunlight. That's cool. CITES regulations won't let you cross without paying a lot in import-export fees. Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's not even the fees. It's just that the permits do cost money. I looked into this. And there's got to be something done about the fact that they're aquacultured in the sense that if I give somebody a frag from my tank, it hasn't been pulled from the ocean. It's grown in my tank. So if it's not on a rock that came from the ocean and it's not grown in the ocean, you would think they could develop a category for that. Yeah, regulate it. Yeah, have permits. But why there's only one system for moving stony corals, and that's through CITES. And there's this Lacey Act was discussing the potential of certain species requiring approval to go on a whitelist as opposed to being on a blacklist. So everything is on the blacklist unless you get approval for it to go on the whitelist. And that's just not feasible. So I don't know where that is. But you can bring anything without a skeleton. So anemones, mushrooms, soft corals, they can come through no problem because they don't have a skeleton. They're not regulated under CITES. That doesn't mean they wouldn't be regulated under other types of species control. Like, for example, what is it? Is it Caulerpa? You can't have in California because it's invasive. So you're not supposed to have it in your aquarium in case you decide to throw it out in the ocean, that kind of thing. So I don't know whether there are regulations that govern that are more ag and food as opposed to trade in exotic species. You know, I don't know. So a couple of years ago, I did all that reading when I was considering getting an order from Gulf Coast Ecosystems with sponges and gorgonians, things like that. And I brought them across. I didn't have a problem. I declared them. So I think you still take your chances though, and flying is another story altogether. And I've never thought of trying it. And I know that some people talk about the proper way to do it to not have trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely be one of the big ones for me. Like,
yeah,
I'm lucky in my job. Sometimes I do get to travel fairly frequently, surprisingly, but the distance of where I get to go, like I get to go pretty much the entire eastern seaboard.
Wow.
So down to Florida. I've been to, oh God, now I'm trying to think. What? Oh, I hate my trigger fix for that. He consistently loves to go in between those two rocks, but in doing so, he sprays the sand everywhere, and it keeps covering one of my smaller zoa colonies at the bottom.
Oh, hey, Diacanthus Reefs. Thanks for coming by. Gotta head out. Thanks for streaming. Oh, I'm glad you stopped in. Steve Diaz, can you get a bacterial bloom in an initial setup in a 120 gallon? I don't see why not, depending on whether you added bacteria, because it's a balance, right? So the bacteria, if it has too much food and it proliferates, then it's all over the place because it has a food source. And we get back to the old, are you spraying cleaning chemicals nearby, or is somebody having scented candles or using air fresheners? Yeah, that all of those are sources of food for bacteria. And when I had the white slime, I looked into all of that. So I don't know whether it's reached that point yet, but
Yeah,
come and go. They do come and go.
I've been pretty lucky. Like I've never had to deal with any of those. The biggest one I have is dealing with those damn brown dinos all along my sand bed.
Oh, you mean diatoms or dinos?
Diatoms, yes. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's the biggest battle I have with my tank.
yeah. And how long has this been set up now?
The initial tank cycling finished on, that would have been the September frame. So this September will be 2 years exactly, I believe. No, longer than that actually.
Mm.
This September will be. Now I got to stop and think.
It's funny, eh? How time bends. I swear, like it just.
2 years this November.
Yeah. So the diatom thing is always like, what's going on?
Oh, it's a constant battle. And that's where I get the whole dollar store, and I buy a couple basters, and
yeah.
I just fluff the sand, as you put it.
That's all you can do. And I still say the corals benefit from that.
Oh yeah.
Anything that's down there that is still viable food, they have access to.
Anytime I've done it, everything goes crazy feeding. My acans flip inside out. The trachea does. The Acanthophilia,
Yep.
he goes crazy for it.
Yeah.
The fish start zooming everywhere. It's great to watch.
Yeah.
My trigger has a thing for spaghetti worms.
Uh-huh.
So
Kathy B says, a few years ago, I brought fish across the border without issue, but that was years ago. Yeah, I think fish is a whole other thing. As long as it's legal to have it, I don't think you have a problem. If you can prove where you got it and have the receipt and all that kind of thing, I've never heard of people having an issue. And like you said, though, my knowledge is probably at least 5-6 years old from the last time I looked into it. So things could change since then. Algae Warrior and Steve Diaz. Algae Warrior is saying, have you tried an Uber sterilizer, Steve? I hate autocorrect because I try to type UV and I get Uber. And if I don't notice it, just, yeah. Yeah, Algae Warrior, new phone. You would think after you corrected it 100 times, it would understand that, yeah, but no, it's not good enough. Yeah. What time we got here? Oh my goodness, it's 3 o'clock already. Where does the time go? I wonder if I got any more pictures to show you guys.
I do have to admit, though, if you want to see some coralline growth, put some plastic canvas in your tank.
Really?
I kid you not. It has been the absolute biggest growth of coralline algae. Like, I don't know how well you can see it in the. Yeah, you can see it pretty good. But if you look at the back of my tank there,
yeah,
originally that whole glass was just completely purple. And then I ended up doing a 50% water change because of a small dosing issue that, lesson learned.
Shall we
Pay
learn?
attention to what you set on what doser.
Oh my gosh. It's how
Oh
we
yeah.
learn, right?
I accidentally put my calcium on my alkalinity doser.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So my calcium shot up. I think I was like 750, 760, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Like it was just astronomical for calcium. And then I started looking and I went, oops, switched it over. And now I'm currently battling a alkalinity issue again. Currently my alkalinity is sitting at like 6, a little under.
Yeah.
So I'm currently trying to get that reset as we speak. But yeah, it's been, so my alkalinity is reading 5.3 at current.
Wow.
So I definitely got to get some dosing going in there.
And you were saying that, is that white square?
Yes. Well, actually, that's my bubble tip holding tank.
Okay. Oh, so you make it out of plastic canvas?
Yeah. So I go
Nice.
to the dollar store and I get they have the minuscule zip ties, and they fit through the plastic canvas.
I have some of those. Yep.
And I mean, I have anemone guards on my my Corellias. Yeah, I still run Corellias. Imagine that.
Oh no, honestly, Corellias are my favorite, and I have a high door smart wave that I wish I could still use because that was the best thing ever. But most small power heads you get now can't tolerate the continuous, like the on off.
Yeah.
But the high door, the Corellias were built for that. I love that thing. I wish I could still use it.
Now the irony is mine are just set and left alone. They have a constant flow, constant direction.
Yep.
But how I have them set up along with the return from my tank, it causes a chaos in the middle that just kind of flows around the tank. Like if you see on the green star, I don't know how well it shows.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
you can see it. You can see the constant pull at that one position.
Yeah.
And then, every so often I move the little box forward or move it back, and that changes the flow in the tank for a few days. And that's literally how I do that.
Yep.
No fancy settings on my blowers, none of that.
Yep. Yeah. We were talking about coralline, right? I can see what you mean.
Yeah, like I don't know what it is, but all the coralline on the glass started dying off and getting very patchy. Yet anywhere that I've had plastic, aside from where the urchin has perched himself in past, it's just this beautiful purple. It's there.
Huh. Oh, do you think your urchin has been chewing at it, and that's?
Oh, not that much.
Yeah.
He's not even in there at the moment. He's gone.
I wonder if it's kind of the same theory as an algae scrubber, where the algae grows really well on a scrubber because it's the perfect environment. So maybe the guards on the pumps are the perfect substrate for the coralline to thrive. So it can't grow as well on the glass as it does on the plastic. Maybe it's something like that.
It very well could be. I know for the longest time my tank was just pure green coralline, which I didn't know existed at first. For the first 4 months of my tanking, I literally thought it was just, I have so much algae. And then somebody's like, dude, that's green coralline. And after the research, yeah, sure enough, it's the kind of like the infant stage of what you'll see when you start your tank up. And it's interesting to learn that.
Yeah, WVU reefers have commenting about struggling to maintain calcium. I get it up to 350, then within a few days it drops down to 320. Yeah. Oh, and here's a good topic of discussion. I always love to dispel some myths. Do you guys know if a UV? Oh, I like your avatar with that gorgonian. That's beautiful. Do you guys know if a UV sterilizer will kill any beneficial bacteria to a level where it will unbalance the cycle or need to be recycled? The answer is no. No. The answer is it won't, because the vast majority of the bacteria that operates in your tank to process whatever it needs to process and stay in balance lives on surfaces. And if it's in the water, it'll give you a haze on the water. If it's in the water, it's surplus to requirements. You don't want it there because it's affecting light penetration. It gathers in your hoses and all that kind of stuff. You want it on the surfaces in your tank. Well, it's on the hoses and stuff naturally anyway. So if the UV removes that bacteria from the water, that's a good thing because you don't want it there anyway. There is a type of bacteria that does exist in the water column, and this is the subject of some debate, and this is where Eli Meyer, the microbiome guy, has commented or shown that tanks that he's tested, that he's had tests from, where a UV sterilizer is being run, have much, much less of a bacteria called Pelagibacter acae. And Garrett, we've talked about this before, which is in the water column. And it's the most prolific or abundant bacteria that exists. And it's in the ocean and it lives near the surface and all of that kind of thing. And his theory is that UV is bad because it takes away the population of Pelagibacter acae in your tank. And I don't know that I agree that it's bad because of that, because I just think of all the good things that UV does and the other bad things that are in your water that it takes away. So it depends what you believe, but if you look into it, you'll learn that the pluses are that far exceed the minuses. That's my opinion, and that's why I will never run a tank without a UV again, because the difference is dramatic. I have far fewer problems with imbalances and strange things growing on the glass, and it helps somewhat with algae. And I'm wondering whether that's partly why mine clears up overnight, because it takes that time to get caught up in the UV to eliminate the algae. So the answer is it will not cause your tank to go into a cycle because of creating a bacterial imbalance. So it's a myth. If you want to do some reading that's kind of fun to read because the guy is really opinionated and you know it, even worse than me, American Aquarium Products has pages and pages of information about the use of UV on their website. And the guy's name's Carl Strohmeyer. I believe he's retired now. The information that's on there, and this has been his whole life's work, is installing using UV sterilizers. And there's stuff you don't find anywhere else. For example, low sodium UV lamps are better or more appropriate to use than the medium. The medium are the cheap ones you buy. The low are a little more expensive. But I mean, I haven't found that information anywhere else. So if you want to do some reading that will be valuable and kind of entertaining at the same time, because he does do a bit of ranting here and there. I like a good rant. Check it out, American Aquarium Products. Their site is, unless they've changed it since Carl retired, the site is a little dated, but that doesn't mean you can't find what you need there. It's not flashy, but the sort of the bones of everything you need are in there. So I don't know, anyone can feel free to agree or disagree, but that's my own opinion based on all the research I've done in my own experience ever since I got the first UV sterilizer for the Red Sea tank back in 2017. And so it's been a good thing. We still haven't hooked up the big one, the new one, because I have to empty everything out of the 150, all the coral and fish that are in there, because that's where the pump is going to be pumping into it, and the outflow is going to be coming out of it is in that particular section of the sump. And I don't want to put the pump in there while there's still fish pooping, and why get it dirty if I don't have to? So once they're all out of there, then we're going to scrape down the sides a bit, get it cleaned out, and hook up the 110 watt that we have ready on the wall, waiting to go. So, and I know there's people who are going to violently disagree with me, but I still haven't changed my mind about the value of UV versus not having it when you have a reef tank. So yeah. What else have we got here?
Well,
Yep.
I have a lesson learned. I just found, I spoke earlier about paying attention to your dosers, and
Yep.
I kind of just made a cardinal whoops on mine. I wasn't paying attention to everything was set, everything was kind of good and all that, but come to realize that, yeah, my container was empty.
Oh no, I've done that. And do you also pinch the hoses, the end of the hoses regularly to make sure they don't get clogged?
I do. That I do. I learned that one the hard way at the store. Actually, we ended up with one of our lines becoming plugged up. I think it was the magnesium.
Yeah. Yeah, my
So-
magnesium, I've never seen this before, but the type of, I was using the ESV magnesium, mixing it up. And the entire tube that they give you that goes into the container had crystals in it.
Oh
And
wow!
the container was like 2/3 full, and the magnesium kept dropping, and I kept increasing the dose, and I'm going, what is going on? And then I pulled this thing and looked at it, and it was, I couldn't believe the whole length of the tube was full of crystals. So I'm sure some was getting through, but I don't know what the heck was going on. Maybe I mixed it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No,
anyways, I swapped it out for Kent Tech.
Well, I'm not, the worst part is, like, I went through, and when I set up my dosers, Neptune is great because they actually give you a reminder of, hey, if you're dosing from a container, make sure that your draw straw reaches the full length of the container.
Yep.
And whoops.
Yeah, and you know what else? Don't make your hose, or don't make, if you have a hose, don't make it too long, because if you do and it curls up again, you'll think that you have 2 inches of liquid left, when in fact the end of the hose isn't even in the liquid anymore because the hose is curled up.
Yes.
That's what happened to me.
Well, yeah. No, excuse me. I use the Aquaforest 1+, 2+, 3+ component dosing.
Right. Yep.
And I'll tell you, like, the coloration and the difference I've seen in this is just astronomically different.
Yeah.
And it's just night and day.
That's cool. Well, you know what always puzzled me with 2-part, and I use the balling method when I set up the Red Sea tank, the one from Fauna Marin, and it always said that part 1 and part, like the calcium and the alkalinity should be equal in how much you dose. And every 2-part I've ever used, that was the first one. Then I switched to another one, and now I'm on, and there was another one in there too, the ESV, when I won some at a frag swap. So I mixed it up and tried it, didn't like it. But none of them have ever maintained the correct levels in my tank by dosing equal parts. There's always more alkalinity needed than calcium. And that's even with me keeping my magnesium somewhere between 1350 and 400. That's my zone that I aim for. And now with the Fusion 1 and 2, I'm currently dosing 40 milliliters of the alkalinity, the Fusion 2, every day. And 48 milliliters of the calcium wasn't keeping up with it. I'm now at 70 milliliters of the calcium. So it's actually reversed what it used to be. So I cannot figure out what's going on with that. I'm thinking it might be time for me to do a calcium test using the HANA checker, just to make sure that I'm not out of whack with my spin testing.
Yeah.
But I did run a reference test. I have the little bottle of Fauna Marin reference solution that tells you what the values are of everything. And I know it's good. It's not expired. Well, I don't think it does expire. I've only used it 3 times, so I know it hasn't evaporated from opening and closing the bottle. And my spin test is still within 10% of what the levels are on the bottle. So I don't think that's the problem. So I don't know. I may have to take the doser apart. Maybe the calibration is messed up. That's totally possible. And I think I'm dosing 70, and I'm actually only dosing 30.
Yeah.
So that's the other possibility.
Like that's something that I have had to deal with luckily never on my own tank, but on other tanks that I've helped with and that. And like for me, the biggest thing in my experience right now is I find that sometimes it does need just that little bit of a boost, if that makes sense.
A bolus dose.
Yeah, like you need, like for me instance, when I started dosing AquaPower daily, it was good. It was good. And then all of a sudden I had one day where, my level started going up higher and it was dosing a little bit less. So Neptune has it where you can set it up to automatically dose plus minus 35%.
I would never do that. I'm sorry. I don't have the trust level required.
So myself, I do, because I've seen how many of these tanks have just run so well with it, if that makes sense.
Yep. You need to be a trusting person, and that's a good thing.
Well, there's also the fact that I'm anal retentive and I'm in my tank every day.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to things, and
you would know.
Yeah, so something doesn't add up, all of a sudden, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. I'm watching your fox face. Oh, have you got algae? Yeah, you got an algae clip.
Yeah, I fed them some of the. So I've been finding it hard to find the original algae that I used to get.
Oh.
It came in a little cardboard box and the local fish stores don't carry it anymore. But they did start carrying the 2 little fishes, I think it is.
Yeah. 2 little fishies.
Julian Sprue, I think it is.
Yeah.
And for the same price, I get a lot more, and I actually find that they enjoy it so much more.
I know the stuff you're talking about. I think it was like San Francisco something or other.
Well, there's 3 different ones. There's a purple, a green, and a red.
Yes.
Yeah, Julian Sprung's sea veggies.
Yes. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah. I buy that in bulk. I buy 100 sheets at a time. Yep. And I just get the green.
Yeah.
I did try the red, and they wouldn't touch it.
So the red they didn't like because it seemed to be like it was just too tough. But the purple is kind of more like the red I'm used to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they love it. So the green one, they'll tend to rip off the clip on me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if I use the red, they don't.
I take a quarter of the big sheet, and because I buy it in bulk, it comes in sheets that are roughly like 9 by 9 inches. It's pretty big.
Okay.
So I cut those. I tear those in quarters, and I take 1 quarter, and I fold it in quarters, and I fold that in half, and then I put it on the clip. So when they come and get the algae, they're taking big bites out of a dense, very, very dense area of algae.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have the problem with it floating all over the place, and that seems to work. It took a while to figure it out, though. Sammy31D says, my black urchin makes sure I can't grow coralline algae unless he can't squeeze into the space to eat it. Brown and white pincushion makes sure no other algae species survive. I have one of those brown and white pincushions, and that guy's awesome. He's everywhere, all over the tank. And I do have a picture of what I call snail buffet. I was going to put it on Instagram, and I haven't yet. I'll just pop it up here. Where'd it go? There it is. Share. Airdrop. Yeah. And I don't have algae on my rocks. I do have a film, like a green film here and there. But next day I look and it's gone. Like the blenny or somebody else gets it. I mean, I have mostly herbivores. I have the 3 tangs and the blenny. The 2 angelfish, of course, aren't. The little coral beauty angel, I've seen him picking at the rocks. Let's see, mine just cleared the water and then I turned it off. Talking about UV. Stuff like protists floating around in the water get blasted by the UV too. Die, ick, die. Oh yeah. Sammy31D, UV 24/7 on my tank. And Lorena says she still hasn't bought a doser, so dosing manually, not fun, just 1 liquid, all for Reef. I love All for Reef. That's what I use on the observation tank, and it's so easy to use. And I found if I mix up too much, it was in one of my updates, it starts to grow sludge that's black and kind of fuzzy. So now I only mix about 500 milliliters at a time, and it lasts maybe 3 months. And that's the maximum that I feel like it should go in the container without being replaced, like sterilized and then replaced. But yeah,
What is it called?
it's All for Reef, and it's from Tropic Marin.
Not familiar with that one.
Yep, it's relatively new, maybe a couple years, well, or maybe it's been around for a while, but a couple years ago they came out with a mix your own. So it comes with in a powdered form, and so you can mix up your own, and that's what I do because it's the cheapest option. But I'm pretty sure Aquarium Depot carries it in. They have an online store in Toronto, and they ship. They do have free shipping, I think, over $99. But that's where did I buy? No, I bought my powder from, I think it might have been Premium Aquatics when I could still cross the border and pick stuff up. So a couple years ago when it first came out, before it was available in Canada, and then it became available up here. So Aquarium Depot, I think, is where I noticed they have it, because I was trying to see where I would buy it if I ran out. It works. Parameters are perfect. Yeah, it does work. And Mollywood, the observation tank, doesn't have a lot of corals in it, but I'm only dosing 2 milliliters a day into that tank, and it's 40 gallons. And if I go up to 3 milliliters a day, my calcium skyrockets. So that's kind of where that is. Sometimes I have to put a little bit extra alkalinity in. Maybe I'm hearing a theme here. Maybe there's something up with calcium testing I'm going to have to look into. Sammy 31D, that's how my Trident is. It's freaking dialed. The 2-part is equal within a few mils of each. I use the BRS 2-part you mix up. Oh, cool. That's good. Innovative Marine makes the best algae feeder. It's called the Grazer. I have one of those, and I'm looking forward to using it, because when I put the rest of the tangs in here, there's a Tomini tang downstairs and the fox face, the magnificent fox face. Plus, I'm getting a gold rim tang, white cheek tang, Acanthoris nigricans, picking it up this week. So it's going to go in the observation tank for a while. But once I get all of those guys in here, I'm going to have to set up a couple of feeding stations for algae, or there's going to be fights, because the one clip that gets used now, it's not quite enough, I don't think. So what's next for your tank, Mark?
Well, I would say I want to look at trying to get a wrasse in there, but I technically have one in there somewhere. So I would say 2.5 weeks ago, I picked up a black leopard wrasse. And in going to move him in and put him into the little sanctuary box I have to make sure that nobody would pick on him in that, he jumped and went straight into the tank after quarantine. And I've seen him once since where he just kind of buried himself into the sand. But I definitely want to look at getting a couple more Euphilia and definitely some more fish.
Nice.
Because right now it's just the 6 of them, which is the 3 Bengal cardinals and the other 3, the fox face, the coal tang, and the trigger.
Right.
So.
Yeah, this looks good. I like the proportions of the 90. How deep is this one?
24, I want to say. No, no. Now I have to look.
I think my 90 holding tank was 24, because I remember how hard it was to reach the bottom. Don't mind me, I'm eating a Rice Krispie square because I'm getting slightly low blood sugar. And how many Bangui cardinals do you have in here?
3. So I got I got 3 of them. So the fish store owner made me a deal. If I bought 3, he would give me for the price of 2.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Yeah, your triggerfish looks happy in there. Like it looks like lots of space for him to swim around.
Oh, so all of my rock work, you can see like on the, I guess for you it would be the left side. No, right side. It is right side. That's all hollow underneath. So I've built it up so that all of my rock work has a negative space under it that they can work their way under and through. So the one on the right, it arches kind of up and back a little bit, and but there's a through fare there.
Yeah.
And then they can still get behind the rock work along the back of the tank. None of the rock actually touches the glass, but the entire underside of that rock pile is actually hollowed out with little holes in that even the fox face can fit through.
I love seeing my fish zoom through the caves. It's awesome.
Yeah, so the tank is 48 by 18 by 24.
Right.
So, but what I'm looking at was, let me see if I can find the footprint I was looking at.
Yeah, because I was thinking the 18. I remember the 18 front to back being a challenge because I came from the Red Sea tank, which was 22 front to back. And it doesn't sound like much of a difference, but man, when you're trying to fit in an entire reef setup that worked in 22 inches, the space was really tight.
Yeah. It really is like that. I find is my biggest complaint is it's not deep enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I lose that back corner for my overflow as well, because I don't have a drilled. I have a reef ready system.
Yeah.
And that is definitely something that going forward, I'm gonna look at getting a drilled tank instead, and go with a built-on, probably the eShop's Prodigy overflow system.
Yeah, mine is an external overflow, and it goes right across the whole tank.
Yeah, I love how yours is, especially with the weir system on that.
Well, and the nice thing is that you've got that extra space at the back. It's all glass. It doesn't grow algae appreciably. I mean, it does a little bit, but hardly as much as you would think, given that there's no black on it. But the back of the tank is painted black, so any direct light coming there is kind of blocked a little bit. But I love that it's glass, and I can see when it starts getting dirty. And I have 2 MaxiJet power heads mounted in there. They're the little 650s, I think they are. And they're meant to be either circulating pumps or power. I don't know. Like they operate in 2 different modes, but I use them as power heads. And I just turn those things on for a little while. I watch all the stuff spin around in there. It goes straight down the one open, completely open pipe, and it cleans it out. And I absolutely love that because now I can see if there's like unsavory sludge building up back there that can cause me a problem.
Yeah. So like as I was mentioning, like the 300 that I'm looking to do is going to be 60 by 60 by 20.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Mine's 60 by 60 by 21. Yep. Nice. You'll love it. Other than the places you can see but you can't reach, and the places you can reach but you can't see.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on how you set up your rods.
Yeah. Just give me 1 second. I may have overflowed and flooded my kitchen.
Uh-oh. I'll put up the picture that I took the other day of the snail buffet. There's the back glass. And I leave it like that because the snails need something to eat. I have seen the blenny going along back here. I'm pretty sure the tangs take a munch every once in a while. The fact that there's no hair algae growing on this tells me that they're pretty active back there. And the urchins go along. I have the 3 giant white-footed trochus snails that spend a lot of time back there. The trochus shells are absolutely clean. And I don't know who's cleaning them, but whether it's the blenny or maybe other trochus snails hitch a ride overnight, I have no idea. But as far as algae growth in this tank goes, what you see right there, the green, is the most that I have anywhere. And I'm just leaving it. And it's on the side where the window is. And I'm sure that's, to do with, that's why it's so prolific right there. But that's okay. I'm okay with it.
And I'm back again.
I was just talking about my algae buffet, snail buffet, along the back of the tank, and that's the only spot. Gotta leave something for them to eat because the rocks and everything are scoured clean. Yeah, it's cool. Did you overflow?
Yeah, I may have flooded my kitchen a little bit. My wife's a little grumpy with me, but she loves me anyway.
Well, it's only fresh water. It's when it's salt water that it gets sticky and yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it was only the RODI system. Unfortunately, I'm too nervous to set it up onto a doser onto my system for my ATO, so I still run a gravity ATO from my storage system.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because, I mean, when you think about, I was talking about Oh Too Many Fish a couple of weeks ago, and his downfall was the fact that his ATO was automated to where it was drawing from the RODI reservoir that was automatically refilled as it depleted, and over the course of a few days turned his entire system freshwater when he had a leak. And if he had just had a leak, he would have lost water down to the level where it couldn't escape the display anymore.
Yeah.
Like just the same as if your pump shut off, if the water's not being resupplied.
Yeah.
And he might have lost some equipment. I don't know. I don't know the actual sort of mechanics of what happened, but that whole automated ATO thing, that scares me. Like I said, I don't have the trust level, both for my ability to make sure that everything's running right on a regular basis, because I know myself, and just for stuff going wrong that you can't possibly anticipate,
Yeah. So the thing that makes me lucky in that aspect is so I have the Neptune system, as I've said numerous times.
Yep.
And with that, I can add users to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have a friend of mine who watches my levels.
Yep.
So when he's checking his tank, he'll pop over to look at mine. Something's not right, and he sends me a message.
Right.
And I do the same for him, which works really, really well.
It's like a buddy system. That's awesome.
Yeah. So on top of that, so there's that. I have the automated alarm system. So anytime that the parameters go outside of what I set, I get an email and a text message on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you don't ignore them.
No.
Downfall that I've heard where people, if they get a couple false alarms, then they ignore the alarms.
Oh no,
happens. Yeah.
I'm too terrified to lose. So I as soon as I get the message, I go in, I look, and I have a habit of when I do go in, I look at everything.
Yeah. Yep.
So I've 3:00 in the morning gotten out of bed because my phone is saying, hey, there's an alarm, go check your tank.
Yep.
So I'll get up, head downstairs, and go check the tank. And sure enough, this piece of equipment is turned off, or this one's not working, or, levels are not where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it works really well for that. And
sometimes you can walk up and it sounds different. And you know that there's something is either happening or not happening. It should be happening or not happening.
Yes. My wife has done that one a few times.
Yeah, you become so attuned to those sounds. It's amazing. Yeah. Tony Close says, I really cleaned the back glass, and Oh Too Many Fish, what a disaster, but he's coming back. I'm going to have to check in and see if there's anything recent on what's happening there. Yeah, well, and as far as the back glass goes, the only decision I made was to keep it dark, because my Red Sea tank, the coralline algae on the back, like it took away from what I could see of my corals. I didn't really like the entire thing being pink, and it was like entirely pink, like your overflow there, Mark. My
Yeah.
whole back glass was like that, and I just found I didn't you didn't get the same pop of the corals in front of it. So I decided with this tank that I wasn't going to allow the coralline to grow in the back.
So you keep scraping it down, do you?
No, the urchins.
Oh.
The urchins are keeping up with it.
I suppose because of the size of the back, they wouldn't be, going all over the rest of the tank as they get
No.
plenty right there. So why not just stay there? Yeah, that
Well,
makes
and they do spend a lot of time on the rocks in the tank, but like probably at least once a day, I see one or both of them on the back. So they travel. I'm amazed at how far they travel in the course of a day when it comes to cruising around the rocks. Like it just blows my mind. But I still have coralline on the rocks. What picture did I take? I don't know if you can see it in the algae picture or not. Yeah, you can kind of, well, I have coralline on my power heads, like we talked about plastic, right?
Yeah.
But I do have a fair amount on the rocks, maybe not here so much as some of the side rocks, like in the, where am I pointing now? Which finger? I can't show you. Right above my head is a rock. And beside the arch, that's just like a boulder. It's actually a maize brain skeleton. And it has really nice coralline on it. It looks really good. So it's here and there. I'm satisfied with the amount that's in there, and hopefully it'll stay under control. But we do try to avoid scraping the back glass mainly so that there's always some algae on there. But if I start seeing air algae grow, then obviously they're not keeping up with it, and I would probably scrape it off and start it over. Yeah.
Algae is one of those weird ones. I used to have quite an issue with it, but then I put the refugium in.
Hmm?
Now, my refugium is absolutely disgusting. And I have a feeling I'm probably going to pull everything out and then start again. It's something I've actually looked at is the live mud, if you've seen that.
Yeah, I've that's something that's just kind of come around recently. Is this Aquaforest Life Source?
That's the one that I was looking at recently. There's a few different ones that are out there, though.
Yeah, I still have Miracle Mud waiting to go in the tank once the 150 is empty. That's where it's going to go. Yeah, I had it in the Red Sea tank in the sump, and the day after I put that stuff in, I saw polyp extension on Montipora, and I didn't have a lot in the way of Aquapora at that time, but I had several Montes.
Yeah.
And the polyps just came right out, and I've never seen that since, and I haven't yet put the Miracle Mud in. So I'm hoping that when I put the Miracle Mud, it'll just be that last little push. Because I do see polyp extension on the Montes. It's there, but it's nothing like it was.
Yeah.
With the
Well, that's the same thing I've heard is like, a lot of people say that, using any sort of those, they get that polyp extension.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping with mine. So that's why, like, I've been putting it off, waiting for some time off work to do that.
Yeah.
But it is something that's on my to-do list, which is to wipe out my refugium. Because now, along with that, I do have
it in stages.
That's the plan. So the first part I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out my macroalgae because I've actually I have the red dragon's breath, but somehow I've ended up with blue-green algae in there.
Oh, yeah, you don't want that.
No, so that's going to get pulled out. That's going to be gone. And that was kind of what prompted the biggest portion of me doing this was, that blue-green is just not something I want to chance in my tank.
Yeah. Yeah, our daughter's property, they have a creek running down through it because it drains farmers' fields.
A super high nutrient, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And they haven't had the blue-green algae since they've been living there, but apparently it's starting to happen in certain places. And so we just mentioned it to them because it kills everything. It's toxic. It can kill your dog if your dog goes and ingests any of it,
Yeah.
in the water. And
Thankfully, my dog doesn't drink out of my sump, but
yeah, well, exactly. You can control it a little more, but in nature, even in shallow wetlands and things like that, if they get a blue-green algae bloom, there's like dead fish, and
yeah.
it's awful.
And that's my fear is like, with the things that I have in my tank, do I want a chance that, something's going to be susceptible to that, or, something's just not going to sit right.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, it's, wiped out.
And that's one of those things we were talking about earlier, where when you see a problem, do you wait to see if it resolves itself, or do you step in and take action before it gets worse? And that's a perfect example of something to take care of before it gets worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and I went the other way with it. I let it go slow and let it kind of see, okay, is it going to correct itself?
Yeah.
Now, the biggest thing I noticed is it really popped out when I added the grow light under there.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know if my grow light was too close to the surface and it was bombarding it and giving it more light and nutrients than it was that the macroalgae needed.
Yeah.
Like my dragon's breath propagates phenomenally.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to be a little sad because it's now at the point where I'm going to lose out on all my algae. All my macroalgae has to go because of that blue-green that's mixed in.
Yeah.
And then there's some substrate in the bottom of it because I'm not sure if you're familiar with the eShops Gen 3 sumps.
No.
So the way they work is they have a flow channel that goes under your refugium. So it comes down into one compartment, which is your return,
Mm-hmm.
and then it splits. Half of it builds up in there and goes into through your filter sock,
Right.
where part of it goes into the refugium.
Right.
Now, with that, the refugium then goes directly to your return.
Okay.
Whereas the stuff that goes through your filter sock goes under the refugium to your mechanical section and then to the return pump.
Mm-hmm.
So like mine goes through and it's where I've got most of my my media for bacterial growth, my skimmer, a lot of my probes, my sensors,
Right.
my water test, all of that before, and then my dosing goes directly in with the return pump. But the bottom of that refugium is clear.
Oh, okay.
So I was getting a lot of what I was trying to grow the macroalgae. I was getting a lot of the microalgae, like I was getting green hair and that green slimy algae that builds up.
Yeah. It builds up in sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was growing in that channel, so it was acting as a almost like a filter because it was pulling out so many nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
That I ended up, when I cleaned it one time, all of a sudden I got a massive phosphate hit.
Wow.
And I noticed, none of my corals were giving any polyp extension. The Dracophilia was super upset and grumpy and wouldn't flare out and get that nice show of color.
Yeah.
And that was what it was, I had so much algae in there that was eating all those phosphates that I didn't know I had the issue.
It was almost like a scrubber.
Yeah, exactly.
Had to flow past it, yeah.
So, phenomenal that it was doing that, but it really sucked because it was so thick at one point that it was impeding the water flow.
That's what I was going to say. I would imagine that happened to me with the way we drain the shallow 50 down into the 150. So the overflow goes into the trash can and comes out of two bulkheads into the shallow 50, which is the refugium. That's where I have all my chaetomorpha and various other things. And then there's a pipe that sticks up to control the water level. If we want to have higher water in that section, we put a longer pipe in, and you can adjust the height, the amount of water that's in there. That's how we do it. So we don't want an open drain because we don't necessarily want chaetomorpha and other stuff going down into the pipe. So we have a grid across the top made of egg crate with a little piece of PVC just to hold it inside the pipe. It's zip tied on. So I regularly clean that thing because it does trap chaetomorpha, and that does impact the amount of water that can get through. Like, it's amazing, one strand coiled in there, it's amazing how much it affects the water flow, how it holds it back. And two of the squares that are right over the little pipe that holds it in the channel were covered with that sheet algae, because I'd been noticing water coming out through the saber-tooth overflows for quite some time now. And so I thought, what's going on with that? Well, it became the new norm when we set up the new tank, like when we joined the systems together. But lately it's been worse. So I looked, and sure enough, I found this sheet stuff covering the two halves. And so I pulled it out, and I went and I got a brush and I got it all off. And I have to go back down and check, because that was just yesterday, and see whether the saber-tooth overflows have gone back to what they were before, which is just like almost a slow drip.
Yeah.
But anyway, that stuff can really surprisingly impact water flow.
Yeah, the plan for me right now, like I said, is I'm definitely looking at a few more fish. Like I've debated on a blenny, or
Yep.
maybe a parafire fish, something with that color. But the sump is my big one. I want to get that cycled through and
Yep.
remove what's there. I want to really move in and try that life mud.
Yeah, it's worth a try. And I did a video, I think it's $50 worth of dirt. Let's try something new. $50 worth of dirt. This is quite some time ago when I first used it. Because when you buy the Miracle Mud, depending on the volume that you buy, it comes either in a shallow plastic tray, that the idea is you put that directly in your tank, or it comes in a jar. So I started thinking about, okay, how do I contain this stuff so that it actually stays where I put it? Because I'm not just going to pour it on the bottom, because you're supposed to remove half of it every 6 months and replace it, right? So I came up with the idea of a basket that's like, it's like plastic canvas mesh, but bigger. Like, it has square openings on the side, all around the sides, just from the dollar store.
Yeah.
I lined it with a thin piece of filter fleece, and just put the mud in there. And then I soaked it overnight and then put it in the tank. And it worked great, because that stuff kind of solidified. The chaeto at the time was growing on top of it. So it was amazing. And it was in the same section as my skimmer, but the skimmer was up a little higher, because I had the Red Sea sump. That's pretty much the only choice you have. And I was really impressed with it. Like I say, within overnight, the polyps started coming out that I hadn't seen that kind of extension before.
Yeah. See, you spoke of the skimmer. Did you find that the skimmer didn't pull much of it out, or?
I never noticed any issues with the skimmer. As far as
little jerk. There goes the
again.
Oh yeah, he takes a big bite out of the seaweed, the nori, or
Yeah.
and he'll parade around with it in his mouth, and then he just spits it out, and all of a sudden it's just everywhere.
Oh, they're fun to watch.
It's never a dull time with him.
No. And you know what else I noticed? Speaking of skimmers and what they do or don't do, I've treated this tank with Live Rock Enhance. And this time I finally had enough to do the proper treatment. So I think today is the last treatment for the first week. So the first 2 times I turned the skimmer off, and the third time I forgot. And there was no difference. Like, there was nothing. It didn't react at all with the skimmer. So I was pretty happy about that, because it's one less thing you have to do. Plus you can maintain your aeration, and everything else. But I really thought that it would go crazy, and it didn't. So I don't know if it's because it's up here. And I removed the filter box and everything too, so that the stuff can get right through the whole system, because my 4th chamber, where the return pumps draw from, is full of rock. And I thought, well, it would probably benefit down there too. But anyway, so yeah, Live Rock Enhance did not cause my skimmer to go nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that means it wasn't pulling out all kinds of stuff that should have stayed in, based on, what you need to do.
Well, like that was my concern with any of those muds that just,
Mhm.
this will turn your tank cloudy. It will do that. That was my concern is, okay, well, that's great. Those are all those nutrients and everything. But then all of a sudden the skimmer's just going to go, oh, what's this? Blah, and everything comes back
Yeah,
out.
I know. Who needs that? No, I never had that problem. And like I said, it was in the same chamber as the skimmer because I had the skimmer in the back right, the Miracle Mud in the front left, and the Chaetomorpha at that time was unconfined because I had just started the tank when I started using that stuff, and it was just sitting on top of it. And with the flow and everything that was in there, it was fine. I never had Chaeto in my skimmer. Like all of that stuff was all together in the same place, and I never had any problems with it. So maybe
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Oh, just got a phone call coming in here. I'll be back in a minute.
Okey-doke. Casey Wagner. Had my arm in the tank with the world's angriest clownfish. He's been cleaning the cave, so probably going to be babies. Too bad I can't get copepods locally. Ugh. Yeah, rotifers. I think you can. I may be wrong, but I thought Ocean Nutrition had a variety of rotifers that you could get that were live. Because I'm pretty sure I put some in this tank very early on. I seeded this tank with pods before I put any livestock in it. Once it was hooked to the system downstairs. No, that's not right. Before it was hooked to the system downstairs, when I had the canister going, I seeded it with pods just to get things rolling. And then when the canisters were taken off, or the canister, keep getting it mixed up with the other tank, I took the media that was in the canister and put it downstairs in the tank. So if there were any pods in there, they went with it. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I got lucky. It was the right thing to do at the right time, maybe. Let's see if I got any emails here. All right. Okay. So anybody got any questions? Anybody wondering what the heck's going on? I'm fascinated with how good my tank looks during the day now. When I look at it directly, not through the camera, there is a haze on it. But it doesn't really come through. Hey guys. They hope they're going to be fed. I closed. Did I miss any other comments? Did I miss saying hi to anybody? Let me see what else I've got here. I don't think I have any more pictures to show you. So what's going to come up this week? Well, on the wall of my frag rack, where's that at? Oh, the rotifers, Ocean Nutrition. It's a brand, and I'm pretty sure you can buy it online, but because it's live, it has to be overnight shipping, and it can get kind of expensive, and they have to send it with a coal pack and all that kind of thing. But Big Al's, my LFS carries it, and Lorena, thank you for the evening. Thanks for having me. Have to go. Well, thanks, Lorena, for spending the time here. I always appreciate it because I know everyone has lots of demands on their time, so I appreciate you being here. Yeah, Big Al's has it. I can't remember, Casey. Where are you? You're out east or Ottawa area? You mentioned Ottawa area before. It's something that you're better off to buy in person at a fish store because then you can take it right home. You don't have to worry about problems with shipping because it is a live product. But I have bought it and had it shipped, and it worked out okay because they did a good job packing, and the courier didn't mess up. So that's the sort of crapshoot, is whether the courier is going to do what they're supposed to do. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. And it's not like they even care one way or another. In my experience, when you get a box that clearly says live fish this side up and they put it on your porch upside down, they don't care. It's, you can't be bothered to just make sure they do it right. It happens. So yeah, I was saying the frag rack right there. I had to change frag racks because the other one got really gross. There are corals on there that are going to get planted in the tank this week. And I do have another order coming that I placed because I saw another maize brain that I want. And it's a different color than anything that I have in my maize brain garden. So I placed an order around that. And it includes a Cyphastria that I've wanted for a long time and I have never been able to afford. Casey Wagner PEI. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the fish store situation is out there. I've never really looked into it. I've been there. It's a nice place. Let's see. Saltwater fish stores in PEI. Fish stores PEI.
And I'm back.
Okay. Are LFS closed due to COVID?
That's a rough one.
Yeah, just talking to Casey Wagner because he said he just had his arm in the tank with the angriest clownfish on earth, and he thinks there might be babies, and he's feeling like he would want some copepods to feed them. Pet Value, PetSmart, Winging It Aviary, ooh. JMK Fish Mart, PEI Saltwater Aquarium Community Facebook. Ooh, that's interesting. And I used Ocean Nutrition rotifers. I'm like they were live to seed this tank early on, along with a bunch of other different kinds of pods.
Rotifiers is something I've never added to mine. I've done numerous types of pods.
Well, I started getting hatches of them in the Red Sea tank, and they look like dust on the glass. They appear kind of overnight, and you know how you have to clean the algae film off your glass. Well, if I missed a day, that's where I would see them. And when I first encountered them, I thought, what the heck is this? And then I got the super, super duper magnifier out and looked at them, and I could see that they were very, very, very tiny creatures of some sort. But that's how small they are. They just look like dust on the algae.
Yeah.
And so then I started looking in my tank overnight, like after lights out at about 2 in the morning, because I mean, that's when I'm up and around, with a flashlight shining down. And the water was just like cloudy with creatures swimming around.
Oh, wow.
And it looked like if you're a fisherman and there's a hatch,
Mm-hmm.
the creek is covered with whatever it is. It was
Yeah.
like that, but underwater. It was like something hatched, and it's in here. Because although I had a pistol shrimp at the time, because that's my first thought, well, he's digging up the sand and it's getting all over the place, like not on the other side of the tank, back near the one power head. Like his stuff was under an arch and confined by the rock and never really went very far. So
Yeah.
it wasn't him throwing sand up in the water column. And yeah, it's amphipods. How about those? Yeah. Oh, hey, Jeff in the house. Nice to see you. Catching you all at the end. Yeah, pretty close to the end, I think. So rotifer, that I found out they were rotifers, and that's kind of the smallest, most basic thing that they feed fish fry because they're so tiny.
Yeah.
So Taryn's Little Ocean, she's breeding fish. And she started up a couple rotifer cultures and has managed to culture them, and that's what she was feeding her clownfish. So it's like rotifers, then it goes to what's the next one? Cyclops? Or bigger.
I think it's the cyclopods.
And so they gradually get larger and larger food given to them, and that's what they eat when they grow. And when I had my Molly breeding thing going, I would mix 2 Little Fishies Phytoplan, which is a powder, Ikari First Bites, which is some kind of tiny, tiny crustacean. I would mix it in new salt water, put it in a little squeeze bottle, and keep it in the fridge. I didn't want to use tank water because if I was going to store it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I would squirt in the water. And the tiniest baby mollies, that's what they would eat. Be this phytoplan and the first bites. So there are things that you can put in there. I'm not sure whether phytoplan would work for anglerfish though, because it's a plant product.
I'm not sure. I know, like, I've been debating for a few good months now of starting a phytoreactor up
Yeah.
and going from that into doing the pods.
Yep. Yeah, because you have to feed, if you're going to do a culture of rotifers and pods, you have to feed them phyto to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I think it has to be live phyto. I'm not 100% sure about that, though.
I'm not sure. All I know is, like, I have a gentleman that I purchased mine from, and I got 2 bottles of phyto, 2 bottles of the pods and that.
Yep.
And oh my, like, if you buy the bottled tiger pods that come out,
Hmm.
and there's a lot in there. This was easily 4 times, I would say easily 4 times as thick.
Yeah.
Like, it was just beautiful culture.
I can't remember if it's tiger pods, like the Tigropius, or if it's the Tisbe pods, but one of them, and I want to say it's the tiger pods, they don't proliferate well if you put live ones in warmer temperatures that we have in our aquariums. They're more of a cold water species.
Yeah.
That's what my LFS guy told me. I don't remember if it's Tisbe or the tiger pods. I have to look into that again before I put more pods in my tank. But I do want to put more in because I just put a whole bunch in like a week ago, and I think it's a good thing. There's always that micro life, the tiny crustaceans that are eating up all of the stuff that nothing else can get to.
Yeah, I haven't had that one.
Casey Wagner, when the sun comes up, if I have the window shade up, it looks like a snowstorm in the tank. I've had that here. I had it in one of my updates where the sun was coming in and it was just like a cloud. And it's not anything I did or the fish did. It's just something hatched. It's really cool because it makes you realize that it's an ecosystem and it's growing its own food in a sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I could see that, but, like, my tank water is almost always crystal clear for the most part. Like, I would say the most I see is when I do my dosing for my ReefRoids or any of my liquid foods.
Yeah. ATF in the house. My Aptasia filefish cleaned up my AT tank. Plans work great unless decimates. The rocks are plugs within Aptasia within a few hours. If left too long, he cleans up the zoos and pallies on the plugs too. Oh no, that's not good. Also likes toadstool polyps. And he leaves the mushrooms alone. Well, that's good to know. Eats cloves, acanzenia. Wow. Oh, hey, Hector. Calypso's Reefs is here. Nice to see you. 2 nice frags of magician pallies and Bam Bam Zoo's munch munch. Oh, that's a loss. That is a loss. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just after 4. I think I'm ready to call it quits. I'm starting to get tired. And
I gotta start doing supper here soon.
yeah, well, you're a half hour ahead of us.
1 hour. Yeah,
1
so it's
hour.
just after 5 for me.
Well, that's right. You're in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and New Brunswick has that other hour time difference that really matters when you have to catch a ferry and you're crossing over from Maine.
Compared to you, yeah. Compared to me, yeah, same time.
No, that's right. That's true. Yeah, we ran into that unexpectedly the first time we traveled down there.
It's interesting how it works, but there's been rumors that they're talking about doing away with it.
Yeah, they're talking about that here too, and they have to get the adjacent governing bodies, i.e. New York State and Quebec, to agree.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't have to get Manitoba to agree. I don't quite understand that, but Manitoba never gets mentioned unless Manitoba may not have it.
They don't.
I don't.
I don't think they do.
So that's the reason.
Yeah, they're already there.
Yeah, where they should be.
So, all right. On that note, I'll let you go. Take care. Take care, everybody.
Yep, and thanks
Happy
for
reefing.
spending the time with us, Mark, because I always appreciate it.
Today was a good one. I just happened to kind of get the notification when the email came in. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, well, Sunday afternoon, sure, why not?
awesome.
And went from there.
That's awesome. All right, thanks, Mark.
Take care.
See you later. We still have 20 people watching. Wow, that's cool. So yeah, lots of good conversation today. And I always appreciate you guys when you come here and spend your Sunday afternoons or Saturday nights because, as I said earlier, I know there's a lot of competing demands on our time these days. And there's Chimp again saying hi. So next week will be Saturday night. If you guys want to leave some feedback about what you think Sunday afternoon versus Saturday night, I'm happy to listen to that because in a lot of ways, Sunday afternoon works well for me. Saturday night is a little trickier because sometimes there are family things competing, and I might be able to be more consistent with a Sunday afternoon, but I don't want to leave out people who've established a routine for being able to join in on a Saturday night, or if that's the only thing that works for them. And I'm okay with doing both. So yeah, next Saturday, we'll go with that for now, unless I hear differently. And if that happens, I will let you all know. And I'll do my best to get some sort of an update out this week about our pump cleaning and catch up with all the stuff that's happened since my last big reef wrap up. So I am still working on those videos, but I don't know what happens. Life, I guess. And thank you again for coming. If you're watching on the replay, I really appreciate that you hung in till the end. And everyone take care of yourselves and stay safe. See you soon.